Chapter 158. Chapter 158. Chapter 158 Ambush Kill. 549690339. Buzz. Lu Ming's long spear swept out and his essential chi burst forth. The debris exploded into pieces and flew in the air. However, the two old men did not stop and continued to slash at Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the long spear in the middle and blocked in front of him. Clang! The two elders' sabers slashed at Lu Ming's spear and a shocking fluctuation erupted. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. His body trembled and he staggered backward. He's not going to make it, kill him. The two elders were overjoyed when they saw that Lu Ming had been forced back. They attacked Lu Ming with even more vigor. The remaining 5 Dongi tribesmen also charged at Lu Ming with furious roars. For a moment, Lu Ming was surrounded by enemies from all directions. He seemed to be completely outmatched and was at a complete disadvantage. He kept retreating. Soon, they retreated to a corner near the exit. Kill him. All the scrolls here will be ours. The Dongi tribe will rise again. A 4th grade Great Martial Master Elder shouted excitedly. The other Dongi people were excited as well. At this moment, a sharp piercing sound suddenly came from the door beam above his head. A sword light was rapidly piercing toward Lu Ming's back. The sword light was fast, accurate, vicious, and extremely powerful. His master was a 4th grade Great Martial Master and a genius from the White Tiger Hall. That's right, the person who had launched the sneak attack was one of the 2 4th grade Great Martial Master realm experts from the White Tiger Hall. It was unknown when he had hidden himself on the door beam. Go to hell, Lu Ming. Don't blame me. You can only blame yourself for offending the Duanmu family. As long as I kill you, the Duanmu family will definitely put me in an even more important position. A cold and vicious glint flashed in the eyes of the young expert from the White Tiger Hall. It was as if he could already see Lu Ming dying in his hands. The Duanmu family had absolute power in the White Tiger Hall. Most of the disciples who joined the White Tiger Hall had chosen to join the Duanmu family. Only by joining the Duanmu family could they obtain better cultivation resources. Of course, Ling Kong, that kind of freak, had a strong backing. However, at this moment, he suddenly saw a smile at the corner of Lu Ming's mouth. That smile was as if he had succeeded in his scheme. As expected, they've made their move. Just as well, we'll settle this together. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He had not used his full power in the battle with the Dongi tribe. Otherwise, with his cultivation at the peak of the 1st grade Great Martial Master realm, he would not have been forced into such a difficult situation by 2 4th grade Great Martial Masters and 5 3rd and 2nd grade Great Martial Masters. Everything that had happened just now was an act. In fact, the young man from the White Tiger Hall had followed the Dongi tribe in. Lu Ming had noticed him as soon as he had entered. However, he didn't say anything because he could feel the killing intent from the young man. Therefore, he pretended to be at a disadvantage and even sent himself to the opponent to lure him out. Sure enough, the young man from the White Tiger Hall had fallen into his trap. Thinking that he had seen a good opportunity, he attacked decisively, wanting to kill Lu Ming. However, all of this was within Lu Ming's expectations. Boom! At that moment, Lu Ming's blood meridian erupted, and his aura rose sharply. At the same time, the true qi in his body burst out. Lan Yu! Lu Ming did not even look at the young man from the White Tiger Hall. He held the end of the spear and swept it out. Buzz! The spear swept across the blades of the Dongi people with a terrifying power. The Dongi people were all shocked. They groaned and quickly retreated. However, Lu Ming's spear did not stop. It continued to sweep toward the young man from the White Tiger Hall. Why would I? The young man from the White Tiger Hall narrowed his eyes. He had pounced on Lu Ming with all his might just now. It was too late for him to retreat now. He could only grit his teeth and unleash his full power. The long sword in his hand burst forth with a powerful sword aura and attacked Lu Ming. Boom! However, Lu Ming's long spear was as easy as breaking a dead branch. It destroyed his opponent's sword qi. At the same time, the long spear bent into an arc and landed heavily on the body of the young man from the White Tiger Hall. Gotcha! The sound of bones cracking could be heard as the young man from the White Tiger Hall let out a blood-curdling shriek. His body was sent flying, and he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood in the air. Kill! Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground, his body spinning rapidly as he flew backward. The long spear in his hand also spun rapidly as he stabbed at the young man from the White Tiger Hall. Junior brother Lu Ming, don't. The young man from the White Tiger Hall was shocked as he screamed in the air. However, the spear did not stop. The spear pierced through the White Tiger Hall's young man's heart, and he was lifted into the air. Lu Ming, you are so ruthless. The young man from the White Tiger Hall glared at him with hatred. If you didn't want to kill me, I wouldn't have killed you with one shot. This is called asking for it. Lu Ming said indifferently. If the other party had not been bent on killing him, he would not have been killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. After all, the other party was a rather talented genius from the White Tiger Hall. His combat strength was not weak. The young man from the White Tiger Hall revealed an expression of unwillingness, and his life force gradually faded. Not good. He was hiding his strength just now. Retreat! The Dongi people were terrified. An old man shouted. He had clearly seen that the person who had launched the sneak attack was definitely a 4th-grade great martial master. However, he was killed by Lu Ming in an instant. Lu Ming's strength was too terrifying. It's too late to leave now. Lu Ming controlled his blood and devoured the blood essence of the young man from the White Tiger Hall. Then in a flash he charged toward the Dongi tribe. You guys go quickly, I'll block him. An elder from the Eastern Barbarian tribe bellowed and turned around to attack Lu Ming. Explode! Lu Ming cast his strongest move without hesitation. At this moment his bloodline was at the stage of exploding. The power of this move was terrifying to the extreme. The Dongi old man didn't even have time to scream before half of his body was blown up. An NBSP. Hoo-hoo. At this moment, the aura on Lu Ming's body dropped rapidly. The time for the bloodline explosion was up. The rest of the Eastern Wasteland people were even more terrified and ran for their lives. Lu Ming stopped and did not give chase. The time for the bloodline explosion had already passed, and their combat strength had weakened. Even if they chased after them, they wouldn't be able to kill them all. It was better to forget it. Lu Ming immediately devoured all the blood essence of the Eastern barbarians who had died in battle. Not only that, but he also obtained 5 storage rings. As a martial grandmaster, it was normal for him to have a storage ring. It could be said that a storage ring was the standard of a martial grandmaster. If a martial grandmaster didn't even have a storage ring, he would be too miserable. After keeping it, Lu Ming moved and left the hall. After a few breaths, he appeared in a small room in the hall. With a thought, Lu Ming entered the Supreme Shrine and prepared to refine the blood essence. However, Lu Ming's expression changed at that moment. He realized that the chanting had disappeared. In the depths of the Supreme Shrine, there was a strange chanting sound. Under this chanting sound, Lu Ming's mind was particularly clear. He comprehended martial arts techniques and made rapid progress. But now it had disappeared. Oh. Chapter 159. Chapter 159. A large number of spiritual crystals. 549690339. Ever since Lu Ming had obtained the Supreme Shrine, the chanting had accompanied him for more than a year. The chanting played a huge role in Lu Ming's rapid rise to power. Although Lu Ming did not know how this chanting came about, he seemed to have gotten used to it. As long as he comprehended martial arts techniques, he would enter the Supreme Shrine and comprehend the martial arts techniques through the chanting. When did it disappear? Lu Ming frowned. Is it because I broke through to the great martial master realm? Lu Ming thought to himself. Speaking of which, ever since Lu Ming had broken through to the martial grandmaster realm, he had not entered the Supreme Shrine. After the breakthrough, Lu Ming took on the mission to exterminate the Dongi tribe. He hurried through the night and arrived at Dongke City. For the first few days after he arrived at Dongke City, he stayed in the military camp. There were so many people, so Lu Ming naturally did not enter the Supreme Shrine. After that, the Dongi tribe attacked the city. Then, in order to pursue the Dongi tribe, he came to this plain. Throughout the entire process, Lu Ming did not enter the Supreme Shrine even once. Now that he thought about it, it was very likely because he had broken through to the Great Martial Master realm. As expected, it still disappeared. After a long while, Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. He had already expected this outcome. Since the sound of chanting had such a wonderful function and was constantly emitted without stopping, whether it was man-made or some kind of formation, it needed energy. And the energy would be exhausted eventually, and it would stop once it was exhausted. However, he didn't expect that it would happen after he broke through to the Great Martial Master realm. So what if there's no such chanting? Lu Ming can still rise up and comprehend martial arts techniques quickly. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. Then he stopped thinking and started to refine the blood essence. This time there were 2 first-grade Great Martial Masters, 1 second-grade Great Martial Master's blood essence, and 2 fourth-grade Great Martial Master's blood essence. The blood chi essence was extremely vast. The huge amount of essence was converted into genuine chi. In his dantian, the chi cyclone spun rapidly, and the speed became faster and faster. His genuine chi also became stronger and stronger. Lu Ming began to strive for the second-grade Great Martial Master. 3 hours later, a strong aura suddenly burst out from Lu Ming's body. However, in the blink of an eye, the aura hid itself and Lu Ming opened his eyes. Second-grade Great Master Realm breakthrough. Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. After devouring the blood essence of 4 fourth-grade Great Martial Masters and a small number of second- and first-grade Great Martial Masters, Lu Ming finally broke through to the second-grade Great Martial Master realm. The amount of energy required was truly terrifying. However, the level of Lu Ming's blood meridian did not increase. It was still at the 5th level. It was getting harder and harder to increase the level of his bloodline. However, as long as he could improve, no matter how difficult it was, Lu Ming was confident that he could keep on improving. Now that I've reached the second-grade Grandmaster realm, I don't have to fear the 2 5th-grade Grandmaster realm elders anymore. I can even kill them. Lu Ming revealed a confident smile. Let's see what's in their storage rings. Lu Ming's hand moved and 5 storage rings appeared. These were all Grandmaster realm storage rings. Lu Ming was quite looking forward to it. First, it was the storage ring of a first-grade Great Martial Master. Oh, the storage ring was very ordinary, and could be considered the lowest grade of storage rings. However, the items inside still made Lu Ming look surprised. Spiritual crystals. There were thousands of spiritual crystals in the entire box. Each spiritual crystal was milky white in color, and exuded a dense spiritual chi. The box was neatly arranged. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. Spiritual crystals could only be used by warriors above the Grandmaster realm, because they were filled with rich spiritual chi. And this kind of spiritual chi, because it was gathered together, was extremely fierce and domineering. If a warrior below the martial Grandmaster realm used it to cultivate, it was very easy to explode and die. Spiritual crystals were the currency used by martial Grandmasters and above. Spiritual crystals were mainly divided into 4 grades. Lower spiritual crystal, middle spiritual crystal, upper spiritual crystal, and supreme spiritual crystal. A lower spiritual crystal was worth 10,000 taels of Asilavir. The spiritual crystals of the first-level Grandmaster Realm Warrior were all lower spiritual crystals. 1,000 pieces were worth 10 million taels of Asilavir. This was a huge sum of money. Naturally, Lu Ming was pleasantly surprised. The Dongi tribe lives in the depths of the mountains by the sea. They must have found spiritual crystal mines. They are indeed rich. Lu Ming sighed. He was looking forward to the remaining few storage rings. If a first-grade Grandmaster Warrior had 1,000 spiritual crystals, what about a second-grade or even a fourth-grade Grandmaster? Other than the spiritual crystals, there were a few spiritual weapons in the storage ring. They were all second-level spiritual weapons and were not particularly valuable. After packing up, Lu Ming looked at the next storage ring. The storage ring had been left behind by a first-grade Great Master. There was still a box of spiritual crystals in it. There were a total of 1,200 pieces, more than the previous one. Lu Ming was even more pleased and continued to read. The next one was left behind by a second-grade Grandmaster. It did not disappoint Lu Ming. $3,000, a whole $3,000. Lu Ming's heart started to tremble. He could not wait to look at the storage ring of the 4th grade Great Master. This storage ring was several times larger than the previous storage rings, and there were several boxes inside. Lu Ming opened it and his eyelids kept twitching. Spiritual crystals. They were all spiritual crystals. They were arranged in neat rows. Lu Ming started to count in a hurry. There were more than 11,000 pieces, all of them lower spiritual crystals. Lu Ming gasped. Then he was overjoyed. The Dongi people must have found a spiritual crystal mine deep in the coastal mountains. Otherwise, how could there be so many spiritual crystals? Generally, a 1st, 2nd, or even 4th grade Great Martial Master Realm Warrior would not have so many spiritual crystals on him. This was because a Great Martial Master's cultivation required spiritual crystals. If they had spiritual crystals, they would have used them up, so how could they have so many? The 4 Dongi tribe warriors had a total of more than 16,200 spiritual crystals. In terms of Esilavirer, it had already exceeded 160 million taels of Esilavirer. What a huge fortune this was. Haha, if I exchange these spiritual crystals for contribution points, it'll be enough for me to use for a while. Lu Ming could not help but burst out laughing. Finally, Lu Ming looked at the storage ring of the young man from the White Tiger Hall. Indeed, Lu Ming was very disappointed. He was clearly a 4th grade Great Martial Master, but in his storage ring, other than a few spiritual weapons and swords, some healing and cultivation pills, there were only 100 spiritual crystals and 3 million taels of Esilavirer. His wealth couldn't even compare to that of a 1st grade Great Master Realm Warrior from the Dongi tribe. Needless to say, the disciples of the mystical sword sect must have exchanged all their wealth for contribution points. How many spiritual crystals will we get if we take all the storage rings from the Dongi people? Lu Ming's eyes were shining with hope. To be honest, Lu Ming was really tempted. He needed too many resources for his cultivation. He felt that he was lacking resources at all times. Oh. Chapter 160. Chapter 160. The Wonderful Third Platform. 549690339. Now that I've reached the Martial Grandmaster realm, I wonder if I can go up to the 3rd platform? At this thought, Lu Ming's gaze turned to the 3rd platform after the 99 steps. The platform was empty. There was only a stone platform that Lu Ming had been unable to climb up previously. Now, since the chanting had disappeared, could he step onto the 3rd platform? Lu Ming got up and walked toward the 3rd platform. Soon he arrived at the 99th step. He took a step forward and without any obstruction, Lu Ming stepped onto the 3rd platform. He's really here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The first 2 platforms had a box each and it was of great help to Lu Ming. However, this platform was empty. What help could it be? Lu Ming looked around and walked around. He did not find anything and finally came to the stone platform. It was a very ordinary stone platform, square in shape, but there was a pit in the middle of the stone platform, which made it seem rather special. What's this for? Was it an array base? Or? Lu Ming sized it up carefully but still could not guess why. This pit is very similar to the size of a spiritual crystal. Lu Ming was deep in thought. Then, his palm glowed and a spiritual crystal appeared in his hand. He decided to give it a try by placing the crystals into the pit. Unexpectedly, as soon as he approached the pit, there was a strong suction force from the pit. The spirit crystal in Lu Ming's hand flew out of his hand and into the pit in the blink of an eye. Buzz! Then the pit trembled slightly, and a hazy light was emitted. However, the light only flashed for a moment before it went silent again. What's going on? There was clearly some movement just now. Could it be that there aren't enough spirit crystals? Then continue to add more. Lu Ming pondered and took out a piece of spiritual crystal. He was also sucked into the pit, but just like before, the stone platform flashed and disappeared. Lu Ming continued to add spirit crystals. 3, 4, 8, 9. When 9 stones were added, a resplendent light shot up from the stone platform. Mysterious inscriptions began to appear around the stone platform, and these inscriptions continued to spread until they covered the entire platform. In the end, a figure condensed on one side of the platform. The figure's face could not be seen clearly, and he was standing there upright. A human figure? What's it for? Lu Ming was very surprised and walked over. Do it, fight me. The figure suddenly spoke. Lu Ming was stunned. This figure's face could not be seen clearly. It could be said that it was only condensed from energy. Could actually speak. Fight you? Lu Ming asked. Do it, fight me. The figure repeated his words without any emotion. So it doesn't have any spiritual intelligence. Lu Ming exhaled. His eyes flickered and he pondered for a moment. Then he suddenly threw a punch. The supreme shrine could be said to be incomparably wondrous. There must be a reason for him to give it a try when the other party asked for it. Boom! The fist force howled as Lu Ming executed the flame dragon fist. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, his opponent threw a punch at the same time. He was also using the flame dragon fist. Boom! The two fists collided. Lu Ming felt a wave of scorching essential qi, condensed and strong, surging toward him. He could not help but take 3 steps back. He looked again and saw that the other party had also retreated 3 steps. The True War Dragon Technique. The opponent is also using the True War Dragon Technique. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. If one could imitate a battle technique, how could one imitate a cultivation technique? However, the other party had really used the True War Dragon Technique. Lu Ming would definitely not be mistaken. Let's try again. Lu Ming threw a few consecutive punches, but the other party did the same, all of them using the Flame Dragon Fist. The two of them exchanged a few punches in a row, and then each took a few steps back. There's no mistake, it really is the True War Dragon Technique. There was a look of disbelief in Lu Ming's eyes. He felt that fighting with the other party was like fighting with himself. Then what about the sword art? Lu Ming moved his hand and a combat sword appeared. He performed the lustrous sword technique and slashed at the other party. But at the same time, his opponent also condensed a combat sword in his hand and performed the lustrous sword technique. In fact, when Lu Ming used his midair step, the other party would also use midair step. Fire gun art lightning chase. Lu Ming kept his combat sword and took out his fiery tongue spear, unleashing his strongest combat power. However, the other party had used the fire gun controlling art, and his ability was not weaker than Lu Ming's. It could be said that they were exactly the same as Lu Ming. Whatever martial arts technique Lu Ming used, that figure would also use the same martial arts technique. Even the strength of their power was exactly the same. Lu Ming finally confirmed that the other party was himself. It was another him condensed by the inscription array. He was fighting with him. What a wonderful feeling! Lu Ming's eyes glimmered. He had always been fighting with his enemies, but he had never fought with himself. Then let's have a great battle. Since that was the case, Lu Ming could not be bothered to think about it. He relaxed his body and mind, exploded with all his strength, and began to fight the figure. However, no matter what techniques he used, the other party would also use them. No matter how much power he erupted with, the other party was not inferior at all. It was completely him. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, the battle had gone on for more than 300 moves, and there was still no clear winner. How could he win against him? However, Lu Ming's face revealed a surprised smile. Wonderful, wonderful! It turns out that there is such a flaw in my martial technique. And I have a bad habit when I use my spear. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with ecstasy. In the battle just now, he had discovered his own shortcomings. He had exchanged more than 300 moves in a row, and he had tried his best to find the opponent's weakness in each move so that he could defeat him. Looking for the other's weakness, wasn't it the same as looking for his own weakness? He realized that the spear technique that he had thought was perfect actually had a flaw. Furthermore, he had a bad habit when he attacked. These were all very subtle places that were normally impossible to discover. He could only discover it when he was fully focused on fighting him. However, how could an ordinary person possibly fight against him? At this moment, Lu Ming realized that the figure condensed by the inscription array was more useful than the chanting of the scriptures. If he were to fight with him all the time, how much could he learn and comprehend martial arts techniques? Lu Ming felt excited at the thought of it. Continue. Lu Ming recovered for a moment and continued to fight the figure. Every time, Lu Ming would go all out and exchange hundreds of moves with his opponent. He would only stop when his essential qi was exhausted. Lu Ming only stopped after 3 consecutive times. That was because the figure had suddenly disappeared. He's gone. What happened? Lu Ming was shocked. He had just tasted the sweetness and he did not want to lose it just like that. Oh. Chapter 161. Chapter 161. Chapter 161 Demon Subduing Spear. 549690339. Is it because he ran out of spiritual crystals? Lu Ming had an idea. It would definitely require energy to form such a figure and engage in an intense battle with him. Lu Ming walked to the front of the stone platform. As expected, the stone platform had dimmed and returned to its original state. It seems like it really needs spiritual crystals to operate. Lu Ming discovered the problem and felt at ease. However, now was not the time to continue cultivating. He was still in the small plane. This was a small dimension left behind by the ancestors of the Dongi tribe. It might contain great opportunities and Lu Ming did not want to miss it. I'll study it in the future. Lu Ming muttered. Then with a thought he left the Supreme Shrine. In this place, other than that hall, there are still other places that I haven't explored. I'll continue to explore before going to other places. Lu Ming moved and began to explore the dilapidated hall. Most of the palace was in ruins and had collapsed. Only a few places looked fine. Unfortunately, Lu Ming had searched more than 10 rooms, side halls and main halls but found nothing. It was empty. It seems like there's nothing left in this place. There's also the backyard. If I don't find anything, I'll leave. Lu Ming ran towards the backyard. The backyard was very wide, but it was desolate and overgrown with weeds. Lu Ming looked disappointed. He shook his head and was about to leave. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. There was a very special place in the middle of the backyard. That area was 10 meters in radius, and not a single blade of grass grew there. It was completely bare. And in the middle there was a rusty iron rod stuck there. The other places were overgrown with weeds, but this area was bare. It was too special. Lu Ming was very curious. He walked over and took a closer look. The ground turned out to be a kind of grayish-brown rock that was very hard. Lu Ming stepped on it and it did not move at all. There were no signs of it breaking. No wonder not even a blade of grass grew. As for the iron rod, it was covered in rust. No one knew how long it had been through the wind and rain. This isn't an iron rod, it's a spear. After taking a closer look, Lu Ming was slightly stunned. It turned out that it was a long spear. However, the spearhead was inserted into the ground, causing Lu Ming to mistakenly think that it was an iron rod. This spear must be extraordinary since it's stuck here. I can't miss this. There was a flash of fire in Lu Ming's eyes. He held the spear with both hands and pulled it out. The spear swayed slightly, but it was not pulled out. Lu Ming was shocked. Although he did not use his full strength just now, the strength he used to pull the spear out was enough to lift a huge rock weighing 100,000 catties. However, he could not even pull out a spear that was stuck in the ground. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The more this was the case, the more it showed that the spear was extraordinary. After that, Lu Ming held the long spear with both hands and stood in a horse stance. He exhaled and said, "Rise." With a loud shout, Lu Ming exerted all his strength. Boom! His essential qi was boiling and the ground rumbled. The muscles all over Lu Ming's body bulged, and his strength was unrivaled. Buzz! With a clang, Lu Ming finally pulled out the long spear that was stuck in the ground. Roar! At that moment, a beast's roar suddenly sounded from the spot where the spear was pulled out. Then, a black shadow condensed from the ground. It was a huge black lizard. However, it wasn't a physical body but an illusionary body. Roar! The huge lizard roared and pounced on Lu Ming. This is a demonic beast soul. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly retreated. However, the black lizard suddenly exploded and turned into wisps of black gas before it disappeared. Who? Lu Ming exhaled. It seemed that it was only the remnant soul of a demonic beast. After being suppressed for an unknown amount of time, it was extremely weak and had automatically dissipated. The scene returned to normal. Lu Ming relaxed and immediately sized up the long spear in his hands. The spear was 8 feet long and the tip was 8 inches long. However, it was rusty and one could hardly tell what it looked like. However, the weight of the spear was shocking. Lu Ming estimated that it was at least 10,000 caddies. This weight is not bad. Lu Ming held the long spear and casually waved it a few times. The long spear swept through the air and let out a loud buzzing sound. It was as if muffled thunder had sounded in the 9 heavens. The momentum was shocking. Moreover, Lu Ming was very satisfied with the spear's flexibility and elasticity. It was much better than the fiery tongue spear. Although he could not tell what level the long spear was, Lu Ming liked it very much based on its weight and flexibility. There are more words. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed 2 small words on the spear. Demon subduing. Upon closer inspection, he found that they were the 2 words, demon subduing. Demon subduing? Demon subduing spear, what a domineering name. Could it be that the lizard's demonic beast remnant soul was the demonic beast that was suppressed by the demon subduing spear? Lu Ming had an idea. After that, he waved it a few more times and felt that it was very suitable. The only bad thing about it was that the spear was covered in rust. It was extremely ugly, like a worn-out piece. Lu Ming planned to look for an inscriber to reforge it after he returned to the mystical sword sect. After keeping the demon subduing spear, Lu Ming looked around and did not find anything else. In a flash, he left the place and headed to other places. At that moment, there was a majestic mountain peak hundreds of miles away from Lu Ming. However, the mountain peak was surrounded by thick fog. The fog was so thick that it was almost impossible to disperse. Even if a martial artist's vision was far better than ordinary people's, they could not see their fingers in this fog. On the outermost edge of the fog, there were hundreds of stone pillars. In front of the stone pillars, there were dozens of figures. They were all Dongi experts. At the very front there were 3 figures. 2 of them were 5th grade Great Master Realm experts from the Dongi tribe. The other one was a thin figure wrapped in a black robe and a bamboo hat. His face couldn't be seen clearly. However, the 2 5th grade Great Master Realm elders seemed to be respectful to the man in the black robe and bamboo hat. If I'm not wrong, this mountain is the cave dwelling left behind by your king. Follow my method and carve inscriptions on the stone pillar. Soon the formation will be broken and the mist will be gone. The bamboo hat man ordered in a low and hoarse voice. Yes, if we can get the inheritance of our ancestor, we will never forget your great kindness. A 5th grade Great Martial Master Elder clasped his fist respectfully. Then, the 2 old men walked up and started to carve inscriptions on the stone pillars. Half an hour later, the 100 stone pillars suddenly gave off a dazzling light, and the fog in the surroundings slowly dissipated. All the Eastern barbarian people were overjoyed. Their eyes were burning with excitement. Not long after, the fog completely dispersed, and the mountain peak that was previously faintly discernible in the fog finally revealed its true appearance. This was actually a wolf-shaped mountain peak. The entire mountain peak was barren. It was as if an incomparably huge rock had been sculpted into a giant wolf. The giant wolf lowered its head and opened its mouth, revealing a dark hole. Chapter 162. Chapter 162. Wolf-shaped cave abode. 549690339. It was as if the huge wolf's mouth was the entrance to the cave. Ha ha ha, we have finally found the immortals' cave left by our ancestors. The heavens are helping us. The Dongi people shouted in excitement. All right, now that the formation at the entrance has been broken, let's go in together. The skinny black-robed man said in a low voice. The 2 5th grade Great Master Realm elders looked at each other. Their eyes flashed and they nodded. Senior, please leave the ruins and return to the army of the East Lacking City, one of the old men said. The skinny black-robed man seemed to be stunned for a moment. Then he said, What's the meaning of this? Senior, this is the ancestral land of the Dongi tribe. You are an outsider. It is not good for you to go in. Another old man said. I understand, you guys are burning the bridge after crossing it. The skinny black-robed man's voice became even more hoarse and low. That's wrong. How can you say that I'm burning the bridge after crossing it? We just need you to return first. Once we obtain the treasures left behind by our ancestors, you'll naturally be rewarded. An old man from the eastern wasteland sneered. Haha, you're right. I've realized that you Dongi people are really despicable. This time, if I didn't provide you with the clues and the formation patterns to break the formation, how could you have known where the entrance to your ancestral remains was? How can you break this formation? Also, I left some men behind to help you block the geniuses of the mystical sword sect. I've done my best, but you're going back on your word just as I'm about to succeed. I must be blind. The skinny black-robed man laughed in a hoarse voice. Enough! An Eastern barbarian old man shouted coldly. His face darkened. You did make a contribution this time. I've already said that you'll get something out of it. Besides, the people you sent to stop the mystical sword sect disciples were useless. The mystical sword sect still caught up and caused great losses to the Dongi tribe. I haven't settled this with you yet. Also, don't think that I don't know your cultivation level. I'm just being polite by calling you senior. Don't be insensible. Otherwise, let's not talk about benefits. You might not even be able to leave. As soon as he finished speaking, the other Dongi masters stepped forward and surrounded the thin black-robed man. They looked at him with hostility. What an ungrateful bunch. No wonder the Dongi tribe declined. But do you think I didn't have a backup plan? The skinny black-robed man sneered. The next moment he suddenly moved. He was as fast as lightning and pounced on a first-grade great martial master. This time it was so fast that the man's throat was grabbed by the thin black-robed man before he could react. With the influx of genuine qi, the Dongi man's body became soft and powerless. The skinny black-robed man grabbed his throat. The skinny black-robed man dodged several times and broke out of the encirclement, retreating to the center of the stone pillar. What are you doing? If you don't want to die, let him go. A fifth-grade Great Master Realm Eastern Wasteland elder roared and pounced on the skinny black-robed man. But at this moment, the skinny black-robed man condensed a black long sword in his hand. He swung the long sword and the head of the Dongi man fell to the ground, blood splashing everywhere. Open it! The skinny black-robed man's genuine qi gushed out. The blood was driven by his genuine qi and formed into strands of blood, falling on the stone pillars and the ground. Buzz! More than 100 stone pillars suddenly began to shake, emitting a bright light. Then, the light from the 100 stone pillars gathered together, forming a light pillar as large as a mountain that shot into the sky. The light beam was so bright that it could be seen from hundreds of miles away. At this moment, hundreds of miles away, Lu Ming was running through a mountain forest when he suddenly saw a light pillar soaring into the sky in the distance. What's that? Could it be that some rare treasure has appeared? Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming moved and dashed in the direction of the light pillar. At the same time, the other mystical sword sect disciples also saw the pillar of light from different places, and they also made their way toward it. In the light pillar area. Haha, if you want to leave me behind and take everything for yourself, then let the disciples of the mystical sword sect come as well. Let's see if you can kill all of them. The skinny black-robed man let out a hoarse laugh. Detestable. Damn it. The Dongi people were furious. I'll kill you first. A fifth-grade great martial master elder roared and continued to pounce on the skinny black-robed man. Suddenly the ground began to shake. Then beams of blood-red light shot out from the ground and headed toward the Dongi tribe. Ah! Someone from the Dongi tribe screamed as he was pierced by the blood light. At this moment, everyone was shocked to find that the blood light was actually blood-colored vines. The vine was as thick as a finger. It rushed out of the ground and wriggled crazily, trying to wrap around the Dongi experts. The burly man who was pierced by the vine let out a shrill scream. He used his genuine qi and tried to break free, but the blood-colored vine was so hard that he couldn't break free. It kept wriggling as if it was sucking the Dongi man's blood. The Dongi man's body shriveled up at a visible speed. The blood snake vines absorbed the blood and became even crazier. They kept twisting and attacking the others. There were a few hundred of them, a huge number. Ha ha ha. You guys enjoy it. The skinny black-robed man was extremely fast. His skinny figure flickered and dodged the blood-colored vines as he rushed toward the wolf-like mountain peak. Damn it, let's kill our way over. An Eastern barbarian old man roared. But then a few more Dongi men were wrapped by the blood-red vines. The vines pierced their skin and devoured their blood. Those below the 3rd grade Great Martial Master Realm retreat. Those above the 3rd grade Great Martial Master Realm, charge with us. A 5th grade Great Martial Master Elder shouted. Immediately the Dongi tribe split into 2 groups. The ones with lower cultivation levels left the stone pillar, while the ones with higher cultivation levels charged in together. On the other side, Lu Ming was running at high speed. He covered a distance of hundreds of miles in just half an hour. What a strange mountain! As he neared, Lu Ming saw the wolf-shaped mountain peak at first glance. It was the first time he had seen such a strange mountain peak. Intense battle cries could be heard from the front. When Lu Ming arrived, he saw 2 groups of people fighting. One group was the mystical sword sect's disciples, such as Chan Quan, and the other disciples from the other halls. It seemed that they were closer to this place and had arrived earlier than Lu Ming. The other group was of course the Dongi tribe, but they didn't have many masters. They were all below the 3rd grade of the Great Martial Master Realm, and were no match for the disciples of the mystical sword sect. The Dongi people who were 3rd grade Great Martial Master and above were nowhere to be seen. Let's retreat first. The Dongi tribe saw that they were no match for the enemy and retreated, leaving behind a few corpses. Chapter 163. Chapter 163. Inside the Cave. 549690339. Buzz. An NBSP whoosh. Blood-colored vines shot out from the ground and wrapped around the corpses, devouring their blood. Could this be a bloodthirsty vine? It seems that the Dongi people have all rushed in. This must be an important place left behind by the ancestors of the Dongi tribe. There must be some great treasures in there. Let's go in too. A few mystical sword sect disciples also rushed in. Of course, some of the weaker ones, such as the 1st and 2nd grade Grandmaster Realm, didn't rush out rashly when they saw the crazily dancing vampiric vines. The ones who rushed out were all 3rd grade Great Martial Masters and above, and there were more than a dozen of them. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he rushed out as well. An NBSP whoosh. At once, blood-colored vines shot toward Lu Ming like bolts of blood-colored lightning. Lu Ming's long spear swept out and struck the blood-colored vines away. Although these blood-colored vines posed a fatal threat to 1st and 2nd grade Grandmaster Realm martial artists, they posed no threat to him at all. Lu Ming made it through very quickly and ran towards the mouth of the wolf-shaped mountain peak. However, he stopped not long after. In front of them, demonic beasts roared, and a fiendish aura filled the air. There were at least 50 demonic corpses and demonic puppets fighting against the Dongi tribe. These Dongi people were, of course, experts of the 3rd grade Great Martial Master Realm and above. They had broken through the blood snake vines, but they had not expected to be besieged by a large number of demonic corpses and puppets. Moreover, these demonic corpses and demonic insects were unusually powerful. Lu Ming even found demonic corpses and demonic insects with combat strength equivalent to a 4th grade Great Martial Master among them. There were more than a dozen of them. On the ground, several Dongi masters had been torn apart. It was a terrible sight. Buzz! Buzz! Behind them, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Chun Quan and the others had also rushed through the blood snake vines and were rushing over. However, when they saw the demonic beasts and demonic puppets in front of them, their faces turned green. There are so many demonic corpses and demonic puppets. How do we fight them? Chun Quan said with an ugly expression. In front of them, the Dongi people had clearly seen Lu Ming and the others. You guys can leave first. The 2 of us will be enough to barge in. Those little rascals from the mystical sword sect won't be able to. A 5th grade Great Master Realm Elder from the Dongi tribe called out. Then the other Dongi people retreated as they fought, out of the encirclement of the demonic corpses. The strange thing was that the demonic corpse didn't chase after the Dongi people when they had retreated to a certain distance. It only pounced on the two fifth-grade Great Martial Master Elders, as if it wanted to stop them from rushing in. However, the two fifth-grade Great Martial Master Realm Elders joined forces and slowly made their way in. What do we do? There are so many powerful demonic corpses and demonic puppets. We can't break in at all. A young man from the Azure Dragon Hall shouted. No matter what, let's give it a try. The remaining fourth-grade Great Martial Master Realm young man from the White Tiger Hall was unwilling to give up, and he charged forward. But in an instant 3 or 4 demonic corpses equivalent to fourth-grade Great Martial Master Realm pounced at him. He had to use all his strength to escape and retreat. He was almost seriously injured, and his face was extremely gloomy. There were too many demonic corpses and demonic puppets that were equivalent to fourth-grade Great Martial Master Realm, and it was impossible to break through them. Junior brother Lu Ming, do you want to try? Chan Quan looked at Lu Ming. Of course. Lu Ming smiled faintly. His figure suddenly dashed out and rushed into the demonic corpse and the demonic armor. Roar! Roar! Instantly, for fourth-grade Great Martial Master Realm demonic corpses and demonic puppets pounced at Lu Ming. Get lost! Lu Ming's eyes gleamed and he swept his long spear horizontally. Boom! With a loud bang, 3 or 4 demonic corpses and puppets were blown away. Why would I? Chan Quan and the other mystical sword sect disciples, including the Dongi tribe, were all shocked. He swept away 3 or 4 fourth-grade Great Martial Master Realm demonic corpses with a single spear strike. Isn't he too strong? Does he need to have the combat strength of a 5th-grade Great Martial Master? Could it be that Lu Ming already had the combat strength of a 5th-grade Grandmaster? This was too unbelievable, right? It had only been a few months since the great competition of the 4 courtyards. Lu Ming's improvement speed was too terrifying. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and was invincible. He swept away the demonic corpses and demonic puppets one by one and quickly pushed forward. At this moment, the 2 5th-grade Great Martial Master Realm Elders had already broken through the encirclement of the demonic corpses and appeared 100 meters away. It seemed that the area was the forbidden area of the demonic corpses and demonic insects. Once they arrived there, not a single demonic corpse or demonic insect would chase them. They had planned to rush in directly. After all, the thin black-robed man had disappeared without a trace. He might have already rushed into the cave of the Dongi ancestors. However, they saw Lu Ming rushing over at high speed. Damn it, we can't let him pass. The 2 of us will stop him here. An old man who was a little cowardly said with a gloomy face. Good. They would kill him here and then go in to kill that guy. The things left by the Dongi ancestors could not fall into the hands of outsiders. A chubby old man nodded, his face filled with killing intent. The 2 of them stood side by side, staring at Lu Ming coldly. Lu Ming waved his long spear and the demonic corpses and demonic puppets were sent flying. He rushed over quickly. A few minutes later, he neared the 2 Eastern Barbarian Elders. At this moment, the demonic corpses and demonic puppets roared and stopped chasing Lu Ming. They returned to their original places and glared at Chan Quan and the rest. Die! At the same time, the 2 elders from the Dongi tribe charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not take the attack head-on. Instead, he used the midair step and soared into the sky, avoiding the attacks of the 2 elders. Then he stomped in the air as if he was walking in the void. He moved forward for dozens of meters and jumped over the 2 elders. Haha! I'll take my leave first. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He moved and dashed toward the wolf-shaped mountain peak. Stop right there. Damn it! The 2 elders from the Eastern Barbarian tribe bellowed and chased after Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming actually rushed in. The other mystical sword sect disciples were envious, especially the White Tiger Hall disciples. Lu Ming sprinted at high speed, getting closer and closer to the black mouth of the wolf-shaped mountain. Lu Ming did not stop and rushed in directly. The 2 elders of the Dongi tribe followed closely behind. We'll find an opportunity to break them one by one. There was a flash of killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes. His cultivation had just broken through to the 2nd grade Great Martial Master realm, so he was confident that he could deal with a 5th grade Great Martial Master, but he wasn't sure if he could deal with 2 at the same time. The dark cave was extremely deep. Lu Ming ran for thousands of meters before he reached the end. In front of him a huge stone room appeared. In the stone room there were 6 stone pillars. Above each stone pillar, there was a secret manual floating. Above the secret manual there was a layer of light. At this moment, 2 of the secret manuals on the stone pillars had disappeared. On the other stone pillar, a thin figure in a black robe was constantly bombarding the halo of a secret manual. At this moment, the skinny black-robed man seemed to have noticed Lu Ming and his gaze swept over him. Lu Ming was stunned. He did not expect that someone had already entered in advance. Oh. Chapter 164. Chapter 164. The Mysterious Person. 549690339. Who is this person? Lu Ming was very puzzled. The thin black-robed man merely glanced at Lu Ming indifferently and ignored him. He continued to bombard the halo that enveloped the secret manual. I don't care who he is. To think that these secret manuals are protected by inscriptions. Given that so many years have passed, the power of the inscription still hasn't dissipated yet. I'll think about it later, Zhang Xian said. Lu Ming's mind raced. In a flash, he flew to another stone pillar and thrust his long spear at lightning speed. Boom! When the long spear stabbed into the halos covering the secret manual, it caused a boom while the halos started to shake like water waves. However, it did not shatter. What a powerful inscription defense! I don't know how many years have passed, but it still has such a strong defense? Lu Ming was secretly shocked. The scroll, it's a scroll left by the ancestors of my Dongi people. Stop! Damn it! How dare you touch the secret manual of the Dongi tribe? You're looking for death. At this moment, 2 elders from the Dongi tribe came in. They roared in anger when they saw what was happening. Then the 2 elders of the Dongi tribe pounced on the skinny black-robed man. 2 snow-white blade lights cut through the air and slashed at the thin black-robed man. You guys are really ungrateful. I guided you guys here and you guys actually attacked me first? The skinny black-robed man abandoned the manual and dodged the attack. Humph, if you didn't play tricks, how could the little bastard from the mystical sword sect have entered? Then all the treasures here will be ours. It won't be too late to kill him after I've dealt with you. The slimmer old man said coldly. Ridiculous, do you really think you can kill me? The skinny black-robed man said in a hoarse voice. At the same time his aura grew stronger. A black sword appeared in his hand. He swung the sword, sending out sharp sword chi toward the 2 elders. Clang! Clang! The 3 of them exchanged a few blows. The skinny black-robed man was at a disadvantage and he quickly retreated. At this moment, Lu Ming was frantically attacking a light circle. After dozens of consecutive shots, the light circle finally exploded with a bang, like a ball of fireworks. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed the secret manual. The secret manual was very soft and was neither gold nor jade. He did not have time to look at it carefully. With a thought, he kept the secret manual in the supreme shrine. Then, he pounced on another stone pillar. Buzz! Buzz! At that moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. The thin black-robed man actually ran towards Lu Ming, with the 2 elders of the Dongi tribe chasing after him. Nest! Lu Ming could not help but curse. The skinny black-robed man was obviously diverting the trouble to himself. Little brother, why don't we join forces and kill these 2 old men? We'll split the items here equally. What do you think? The skinny black-robed man called out. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Sure, he said. We'll take 1 each. With that, Lu Ming rushed toward the old man. He would have to deal with the 2 elders sooner or later. Otherwise, the other party would not let him go. He might as well join hands with the skinny black-robed man and deal with the 2 elders first. All right. The skinny black-robed man was overjoyed. He turned around and charged at the fat old man. Damn it, do you think that joining hands will be of any use? The skinny elder roared and slashed his saber at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear trembled. The spear's gleam pierced through the air and he was engaged in a great battle with his opponent. Boom! Boom! In the stone chamber there were loud rumbles. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had exchanged more than 20 moves with his opponent. Lu Ming became stronger as he fought and gradually suppressed his opponent. On the other side, the skinny man with the black plate also displayed his powerful combat strength, suppressing the fat elder to the point where he could not fight back. Damn it, let's retreat. The two elders of the Dongi tribe roared in their hearts, but they had already decided to retreat. It's too late to leave now. The skinny black-robed man shouted coldly and waved his hands. A black light flashed rapidly and the air was filled with a chi-chi sound. The fat old man's expression changed drastically, and he waved his saber rapidly, making a series of ding-ding-ding sounds. However, they did not know what the sound was. It was too dense and fast and it was difficult to completely block it. In the end, the fat old man's body was hit by something, and a long wound was cut open. Chi-chi-chi, the skinny black-robed man continued to wave his hands, and the air-piercing sounds became more intense. The fat old man roared repeatedly, but it was useless. With a sound, blood splattered everywhere. The fat old man's throat was pierced through, and he fell down screaming. The thin elder was shocked and did not dare to continue fighting. He slashed a few times in an attempt to force Lu Ming to retreat and escape. You're underestimating me too much. I'll send you to accompany your companions. Lu Ming shouted coldly and thrust his long spear rapidly. Explode! Boom! And NBSP. A terrifying energy exploded from the tip of the spear and shot toward Elder Shi. The old man's body trembled violently and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. He was almost blown apart. However, he was greeted by Lu Ming's long spear. Poochie! The fiery red spear pierced through the old man's chest. The old man was dead. The two Eastern barbarian elders were both killed. Amazing, amazing. Little brother is so young, but your strength is so terrifying. I really admire you. The skinny black-robed man laughed in a hoarse and low voice as he slowly approached Lu Ming. Lu Ming retracted his spear and controlled his blood vessels to silently devour the elder's blood essence. Instantly, the blood essence of a 5th-grade grandmaster martial artist began to be refined. It turned into waves of energy that surged into Lu Ming's body to replenish his true chi. Lu Ming pretended to be panting heavily and said, "You are the mysterious one. You actually led the Dongi tribe to find their ancestral relic. It seems that you were the one who instigated the Dongi tribe to attack the Burning Sun Empire?" Aha, that's because we have no choice. We have to use the Dongi tribe to open their ancestral relic. Now we've so levered everything. It's just you and me. We'll split the treasures equally. What do you think? The skinny black-robed man laughed in a hoarse voice. Of course you can. Lu Ming smiled. At this moment, the thin black-robed man suddenly launched an attack. He pounced at Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning and waved his hands, causing the air to crack. However, Lu Ming was very calm, as if he had expected the skinny black-robed man's sneak attack. The moment the skinny black-robed man attacked, Lu Ming's body floated backward. He waved his long spear, and the tip of the spear trembled, turning into rays of spear light. Ding ding! A series of concentrated clashing sounds rang out. The skinny black-robed man's attacks were all blocked by Lu Ming. You knew I was going to ambush you? The skinny black-robed man seemed to be surprised. One must always be on guard against others. Lu Ming said coldly. You're quite young but you're quite vigilant. But do you think you can stop me just because you're on guard? You're so naive. In the next moment, the thin black-robed man disappeared and suddenly appeared behind Lu Ming, stabbing his sword at Lu Ming's back. Lan Yu! Without thinking, Lu Ming swept his long spear to the back. Clang! The spear and the sword clashed. Lu Ming's body trembled, but he stomped on the ground and continued to attack the skinny black-robed man. If you want to kill me, I'll kill you first. Lu Ming shouted coldly and launched a storm-like attack. Oh! Chapter 165. Chapter 165. A peerless beauty. 549690339. Lu Ming waved his spear like a dragon. The power of fire exploded. Combined with the fire-controlling spear art, the power was terrifying. As he waved his spear, it was like a volcano erupting. A scorching aura filled the air and enveloped the thin black-robed man. Boom! The skinny black-robed man tried his best to resist, but he was still swept by the scorching aura. His black bamboo hat suddenly burst open, revealing the face under the black robe. Lu Ming was shocked. It was a woman's face. She was about 15 or 16 years old and looked even younger than Lu Ming. She had an oval face, willow-shaped eyebrows, round, watery almond-shaped eyes, and skin that was whiter than snow. She was actually a woman of unparalleled beauty. Lu Ming initially thought that it would be a skinny old man. He did not expect it to be a stunning young lady. He could not help but be stunned. I didn't think that a small empire like the Burning Sun Empire would have a genius like you. A second-grade great martial master was actually able to shatter my bamboo hat. Since that's the case, I won't hide anymore. I'll show you my true strength. The beautiful woman's voice was clear and melodious, like beads falling onto a jade plate. It was very pleasant to the ear, but at this time, her voice was filled with cold killing intent. Whoosh! The beautiful woman pulled off her black robe. The black robe was torn apart, and it fluttered in the air like black butterflies, revealing the young girl's delicate figure. However, Lu Ming was not in the mood to appreciate it because the young girl had already launched a fierce attack on him. Heavenly demon power. Chaotic dance of the demonic lotus. Die! The beautiful girl shouted. Black genuine chi surged around her body, forming black lotuses around her. Then the young lady waved her hands and the black lotus flower spread out. The black petals pierced through the air and flew toward Lu Ming with an ear-piercing whistling sound. Lu Ming finally knew what technique the young girl had used to kill the elder of the Dongi tribe. It was these petals. However, the speed of these petals was obviously faster and there were more of them. Fire dance. The long spear swayed and flames appeared around Lu Ming. Ding! 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 Rapid clashing sounds rang out, and in a few breaths, more than 100 strikes had been made. What powerful strength! Lu Ming felt that every time they clashed, the power from the black flower petals was shocking. After clashing for more than 100 times, even with Lu Ming's cultivation, he felt his arm go numb. Great demonic palm! The stunning young lady shouted. She kicked her legs slightly and her body soared into the sky, striking out a few palm strikes at Lu Ming. 3 black palm prints were lined up, one in front and one behind, tearing through the air and heading toward Lu Ming. Broken armor. Lu Ming thrust his long spear forward. The tip of the spear spun, bringing with it a powerful spinning cutting force. Bang! The first palm print was destroyed by Lu Ming, but his body swayed and he could not help but take 2 steps back. However, the second palm print had already arrived. Broken armor. He continued to cast the same move and destroyed the second palm print. However, Lu Ming retreated 8 steps in a row, his face pale. Immediately, the third palm print followed. Landslide. Break. Lu Ming roared and swept his long spear. The spear body shook and collided with the third hand seal. Boom! As if struck by lightning, Lu Ming's body trembled violently and he retreated more than a dozen steps. His chi and blood were in turmoil. He felt something sweet in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. He's too strong. Where did this genius come from? At this moment, Lu Ming was shocked beyond words. Before this, the girl's aura was hazy. Although she looked strong, no one could see her cultivation. However, when she used the demonic palm print, she finally revealed her cultivation. Second grade Great Master Realm. This stunning young lady's cultivation was the same as Lu Ming's, at the second grade Grandmaster realm. However, her combat strength was terrifyingly strong, and she could actually suppress Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming's true war dragon technique had been cultivated to the 3rd level and he had comprehended the force of fire, he was actually suppressed in a battle of the same level with such powerful combat strength. Force. This girl has also comprehended force, and her level of controlling force is definitely higher than mine. She's also very powerful in other aspects. No, from her tone, she shouldn't be from the Burning Sun Empire. Lu Ming's mind was racing. Not bad, kid. I didn't expect that there would be a second-grade great martial master in the Blazing Sun Empire who could block my demonic palm. I'm starting to feel pity for you. How about this? If you leave now, I'll spare your life. The stunning young lady looked at Lu Ming in surprise. The victor hasn't been decided yet? I don't have the habit of admitting defeat easily. Lu Ming grinned, his eyes filled with fighting spirit. I just complimented you and you're so arrogant. I'll show you the difference between us. The young girl snorted coldly. She moved and charged toward Lu Ming. So fast, this is the force of the wind. Lu Ming's pupils constricted and he suddenly swept his long spear horizontally. Boom! The two of them exchanged a blow and then started fighting again. It had to be said that the stunning young lady's combat strength was very terrifying. Other than not using his blood meridian, Lu Ming had already used all his strength. However, he was still completely suppressed by the young lady. After only 7 or 8 moves, Lu Ming was completely outmatched. Blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. I'll send you on your way. The girl's voice was very cold as she sent out a few demonic palm imprints. Now! Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. A blood-red light flashed on his body as his blood meridian burst out. After that, Lu Ming ignored the demonic palm print and dashed toward the young girl. Boom! 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 3 black palm prints landed on Lu Ming's body in a row. However, Lu Ming's body only trembled. He gritted his teeth and rushed toward the young lady. The young girl was stunned. She had never expected that Lu Ming could withstand her demonic palm imprint. By the time she came to her senses, Lu Ming was already in front of her. Whoosh! The long spear was thrust out as fast as lightning, but the young girl's reaction was also very fast. She waved her palm and smacked Lu Ming's long spear to the side. However, Lu Ming's momentum did not stop and he continued to crash into the young girl. At the same time, his palm glowed and the long spear disappeared. Lu Ming's claw was aimed at the young girl's throat. This time, the young girl could no longer dodge and was caught in Lu Ming's arms. At the same time, Lu Ming's fingers grabbed her throat. However, Lu Ming's fingers did not reach for it because a dagger had appeared in the young girl's hand out of nowhere, and she was pressing it against Lu Ming's back. As long as Lu Ming exerted force in his claws, the young girl's dagger could instantly pierce through Lu Ming's heart. On the other hand, the young lady did not dare to stab him with her dagger. If she exerted any force, Lu Ming's claw would instantly break her throat. The two of them were in a stalemate. However, their posture was really strange. Lu Ming clasped the young lady's neck with one hand and hugged her slender waist with the other. The young lady's hand seemed to be hugging Lu Ming. She held a dagger in one hand and pointed it at Lu Ming's back. Oh! Chapter 166. Chapter 166. Stop. 549690339. Their faces were only a few centimeters apart, and their eyes met. They could smell each other's breath. A delicate fragrance wafted into Lu Ming's nose. He could not help but twitch his nose and take a few deep breaths. The girl's face turned red, and her eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. She said coldly, "If you don't want to die, quickly let go." How could Lu Ming agree? "Unless you put away your dagger, don't think I'll let you go." He pouted. "I'll keep the dagger first. Don't even think about it." The young girl shouted angrily. "Oh, forget it then, it's pretty good like this anyway, soft jade and fragrant, not bad, it's also pretty good to stay like this." Lu Ming chuckled. "You're shameless." The young girl was embarrassed and furious. "You still dare to scold me? Do you believe that I will bite you? You." Lu Ming grimaced in pain. "No, wait. The young girl finally couldn't take it anymore and screamed. Lu Ming stopped. "How about this, we both let go? I will put away the dagger and he will let go of your hand. How about it?" The young girl said helplessly, her heart clenched. Lu Ming was really despicable. "All right." Lu Ming pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. After all, it was not a solution to go on like this. "I'll count to 3, 2, 1 and we'll both let go." The young girl was overjoyed to see Lu Ming nodding. 3, 2, 1. When the young lady shouted 1, the dagger in her hand disappeared and Lu Ming released her throat. At this moment a cold glint flashed in the young girl's eyes. The muscles all over her body trembled. Her seemingly petite body burst out with an unparalleled power. At the same time, she clasped her arms and grabbed Lu Ming's neck. "I knew you would be like this." "Break!" Lu Ming shouted. The muscles in his body bulged, and at the same time the essential qi in his body burst out. He grabbed the young girl's hands with both hands. At the same time, Lu Ming's legs clamped around the young girl's waist. Instantly, the two of them fell to the ground and wrestled with each other. They were competing in the burst of their physical strength and true qi. Lu Ming realized that the young lady's physical strength was extremely strong, far exceeding his. Moreover, the cultivation technique that the young lady cultivated was also extraordinary. The condensation and richness of her essential qi were far beyond that of an ordinary martial artist. However, there was still a gap between her and Lu Ming's essential qi. Therefore, the combination of physical strength and essential qi made Lu Ming and the young girl almost on par. It was difficult to tell who was superior. However, after a long time, Lu Ming still had the upper hand. In the end, the young girl finally admitted defeat. She was completely defeated as she shouted, "Let go of me. I swear I won't do anything to you. We'll each take half of the secret manuals here. If I go back on my words, I'll never improve my martial arts again. I'll die of qi deviation." Lu Ming's heart stirred. To a martial artist, this oath was heavy enough. Moreover, martial artists valued oaths very much. This was because if one did not abide by the oath they had made, it was very likely that it would leave a knot in one's heart, which would be very disadvantageous to their future cultivation. This is more like it. Lu Ming then let go of his hand. The young girl also let go of her hand and let go of Lu Ming. Lu Ming crawled a few meters away and lay on the ground, panting heavily. The battle just now was even more tiring than an intense battle of life and death. The young girl was the same. She panted heavily, but her beautiful eyes glared at Lu Ming fiercely, as if she wanted to bite him. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He shouted, "Hey! You swore it yourself. Don't forget it." The young lady's combat strength was indeed above his. Furthermore, his bloodline had already erupted. If they were to fight again, he would not have the ability to create the situation he had just created. Humph! The young girl's eyes flickered. In the end, she gritted her teeth and let out a cold humph. She did not continue to attack. The two of them glared at each other while circulating their cultivation techniques to recover their true qi. 2 hours later, both of them had recovered their physical strength and true qi at the same time. Buzz! Buzz! The two of them flashed at the same time and rushed towards a stone pillar, beginning to bombard the light rings on the stone pillar. Great demonic palm! The young girl seemed to have released all her anger onto the light ring, erupting with a powerful attack. The light ring in her hand exploded in no time. The young girl collected the secret manual in the ring of light, and threw it at the next ring of light. So fast! Lu Ming's heart ached terribly. There were 6 stone pillars in total. The young girl had already destroyed the halos on 2 of them, and Lu Ming had obtained a secret manual. There were only 3 books left. Now there was 1 less book. Lu Ming could only get 2 books at most. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming bombarded the ring of light with his long spear. After dozens of shots, the ring of light shattered and Lu Ming kept the secret manual inside the supreme shrine. He looked over at the young lady and saw that she had just shattered another light ring and obtained the secret manual inside. There were 6 stone pillars and 6 secret manuals. The young girl took 4 of them and Lu Ming got 2. Chapter 167. Chapter 167. The Flaming Passageway. 549690339. Humph. At this moment, the young girl's mood seemed to have improved. She looked at Lu Ming smugly and snorted coldly. Immediately, the young girl rolled her eyes and suddenly said, "Brat, your combat strength is not bad. Why don't we join forces and break into the core of this cave? How is it?" "The core area?" Isn't this the core? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Of course not. This is the cave abode left behind by a martial king realm master, an ancestor of the Dongyi tribe. How can it be given away with just a few manuals? The young girl laughed in disdain. He's a peerless expert of the martial king realm. Lu Ming gasped in his heart. At the same time there was a burning desire in his eyes. A martial king realm martial artist, also known as a king, was incredibly powerful. There might not even be a martial king realm expert in the Burning Sun Empire. Kings had the power to destroy the heavens and earth, overturn rivers and seas, and were unimaginably powerful. This was the cave mansion of a martial king realm expert. What kind of treasures would there be? How is it? Let's join forces? The young lady said with a smile. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He was a little puzzled. This young girl should be itching to bite him, right? Why would he be so kind to invite him to help? Who cares? Let's agree first. This is a king's ruin. Lu Ming made up his mind and said, "All right, I agree to work with you." And NBSP. All right, let's go. The young lady smiled, her beauty capable of causing the downfall of cities and countries. Lu Ming could not help but be stunned. This young lady is really pretty. She's not inferior to Mulan and Xiaoyu at all. In fact, she's even better than them. Unfortunately, she's too evil. The girl touched one of the walls of the stone room. Not long after, the stone room's wall made a cracking sound, and a stone door appeared. Lu Ming was very surprised. He could not help but ask, "Who are you? Why are you so familiar with this place?" "Of course I've investigated it thoroughly. Why else would I come to this place so easily? As for who I am, why should I tell you?" The young girl rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and snorted coldly. She was the first to enter the stone door. Lu Ming followed him in. Behind the stone door was a passage that twisted here and there. After exiting the passage, there was another stone room. However, there was nothing left in this stone room. Lu Ming followed the young girl and passed 3 stone rooms. Finally, they ran into trouble. In the 4th stone chamber, they encountered the demonic corpse and the demonic puppet. There were a total of 6 demonic corpses and demonic puppets. Each of them had the combat strength of a 5th-grade great martial master. The 6 of them joined forces, and the 2 of them were caught in a difficult battle. However, the eyes of the demonic corpses and demonic puppets were their weak points. The 2 of them took more than 10 minutes to kill all 6 demonic corpses and puppets. Then Lu Ming's gaze shifted to a stone door at the side of the stone room. This stone door was taller and wider than the previous one. It was more than 2 meters wide. When the stone door was opened, a dark passage was revealed. If I remember correctly, we will reach the final core area after passing through this passage, but there must be inscriptions on this passage. The young girl said. Lu Ming nodded and the 2 of them walked in. The deeper they went, the wider the cave became. In the end, it became a huge passage that was 7 to 8 meters high and more than 10 meters wide. Surprisingly, there was no movement for the first 1,000 meters. But after walking for about 1,000 meters, inscriptions began to flash around the cave and on the ground. Countless inscriptions glowed and then a scorching aura spread out. In the next moment, the entire passage turned red. As if it was in a fire domain, and NBSP. Hoo-hoo. A large patch of fiery red flames appeared and filled the tunnel. This was a real flame, not an illusion but formed by inscriptions. Buzz. All of a sudden, a tall figure walked out of the flames. His entire body was condensed from flames, and he held a huge flame sword in his hand, slashing it at Lu Ming. A flame spirit condensed from runes. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He did not dare to underestimate her. The fire-tongue spear appeared and he thrust it forward. Boom! The powerful spear's gleam pierced through the flame spirit. However, after the flame spirit was dispersed, it instantly condensed again and charged toward Lu Ming. At the same time, a few other flame spirits condensed and charged at Lu Ming with flaming sabers, flaming spears, and other weapons in hand. On the other side, the beautiful young lady was in the same situation. She was surrounded and killed by the fire spirits. Boom! Boom! Booms rang out continuously as the 2 of them engaged in a great battle with the flame spirits. However, these fire spirits were very powerful and couldn't be destroyed. After being scattered, they would gather again, making them very difficult to deal with. Let's join forces and keep charging forward. As long as we can get past this place, we'll reach the final core area. The young girl called out. Lu Ming nodded and leaned against the young girl. The two of them attacked together and rushed forward. However, there were more and more flame spirits in front of them, and the temperature of the flames was getting higher and higher. The two of them seemed to be in a furnace. The flames are my battlefield, Lu Ming muttered. The power of the fire erupted and formed a wonderful domain around him. When he walked past, the flames automatically retreated. Who? Fire Ruthless waved his spear, and the flames were driven by the spear, forming a fire dragon that blasted toward the flame spirits. Bang! Bang! One by one, the fire spirits were blown away. The fire here is really magical. It's completely different from the fire of a volcano. The fire of a volcano is about erupting and destroying everything. However, the fire here has a spirit and can form a fire spirit. Lu Ming's heart stirred and he seemed to have understood something. His eyes were bright as he observed his surroundings while fighting. Fire is not only explosive and destructive, it also contains spirituality and vitality. Fire is the origin of human civilization. Lu Ming kept thinking in his mind. Unknowingly, the force of fire in his body became more condensed. My fire force is about to reach the small success stage. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He didn't expect that a moment of comprehension would allow his fire force to improve by such a large margin. Originally, his force of fire was only at the beginner level and could be considered as scratching the surface. Now he had finally taken a big step forward and was approaching the small success stage. The improvement in the force of fire made Lu Ming's attack stronger. With one sweep of his spear, a large number of flame spirits were swept away. At the side, the stunning young lady was secretly shocked. Lu Ming's comprehension ability surprised her. It was only an inscription formation, but Lu Ming had actually comprehended something in such a short time. Boom! Boom! The two of them joined forces and advanced forward. However, there were too many flame spirits, and the battle between them was extremely difficult. Half an hour. The two of them had been charging forward for half an hour, crossing thousands of meters. Even with their combat strength, there were still many wounds on their bodies. Could be said to be a tough battle. We're almost there. The stunning young lady suddenly cried out in surprise. Lu Ming's spirits were lifted. They had finally reached the end of the cave. In front of them there was a huge underground cave. Oh! Chapter 168. Chapter 168. The Jade Sword and Ring. 549690339. He could vaguely see the situation in the cave. Charge! The two of them used all their strength to blast away some of the fire spirits in front of them, and they rushed forward. Buzz! Buzz! After a few runs, he crossed the last few dozen meters and rushed into the cave. After the two of them entered the cave, the flame spirit and the flames behind them slowly disappeared. Who? The two of them let out a long breath and then looked around. This was an underground cave. It was very large, with a height of more than 100 meters and a radius of more than 100 meters. The two of them glanced around and fixed their eyes on the center of the underground cave. There was a human skeleton sitting cross-legged on the ground. The bones were as clear as jade. There was an altar behind the skeleton. It was made of stone and carved with patterns. It was filled with an ancient charm. However, Lu Ming and the beautiful young lady only took a casual glance at these and ignored them. Their eyes were fixed on the two arms of the skeleton. The skeleton's right hand was holding a green jade sword. The jade sword was very small, not much bigger than a finger. On the left finger of the skeleton there was a ring. A storage ring. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that it was a storage ring. This skeleton must have been an expert when it was alive, so its storage ring must be worth a lot. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, Lu Ming and the girl in his character moved at the same time. The two of them turned into two rays of light and dashed toward the skeleton. In an instant, the two of them arrived in front of the skeleton. Lu Ming clawed at the storage ring on the skeleton's finger, while the stunning young lady went for the jade sword in the skeleton's right hand. Gathering his jinqi, he formed a claw and grabbed the storage ring off the skeleton's hand. "It's in my hands." Lu Ming was overjoyed. At this moment, the beautiful young lady was also holding the jade sword in her hand. The joy on her face was difficult to suppress. Then the beautiful young lady moved her hand and kept the jade sword. She looked at Lu Ming and said, "Hey kid, hand over your storage ring. We'll split the things inside. Half each. Are you kidding me? You take that jade sword and I take the storage ring, so we each have one. What right do you have to split my storage ring?" Lu Ming sneered. Naturally, he would not give it up. "Your appetite is too big. This is an interspatial ring left behind by a king. Its value is shocking, but I only took a jade sword. It's not fair. I don't care, I want to split the things in the interspatial ring equally." The stunning young lady glared at him and said arrogantly. Lu Ming was speechless. He rolled his eyes and said, "How about this? How about we exchange? I'll use my storage ring to exchange for that jade sword, so that you won't say that I've taken advantage of you." "Why should I exchange with you? I won't." The stunning young lady didn't even think about it and directly rejected him. Lu Ming was so angry that he laughed. He could tell that the value of the jade sword was higher than that of the storage ring. This young girl had gotten a bargain, but she was still thinking about the storage ring. "Then let's have one each." Lu Ming could not be bothered with her and kept the storage ring. What was there to say to this unreasonable woman? If you don't give it to me, then I'll take it myself." The stunning young lady rolled her eyes and suddenly rushed toward Lu Ming. "Hey, you swore before that you wouldn't fight me. You're going against your oath now." Lu Ming shouted as he retreated quickly with his spear in hand. I said before that I wouldn't do anything when I get those secret manuals, but I didn't say that I wouldn't do anything here." "Oh." The young girl coldly snorted as she quibbled. Boom! The young lady waved her hand and unleashed the demonic palm imprint. 3 huge palm prints as black as ink struck toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his long spear to block it. Although Lu Ming's power of fire had increased, he was still not a match for the young lady. He was forced to retreat by the strong palm force. "Let's go to the fire formation." Lu Ming's figure flashed and he sprinted towards the passage from before. When Lu Ming dashed into the passage, the surroundings shone with bright runes again. Then flames and flame spirits appeared and charged at Lu Ming. When the beautiful girl rushed in, many other flame spirits also rushed toward her. "Get lost!" The young girl shouted and struck out a few times in a row. She defeated 5 to 6 flame spirits and charged toward Lu Ming. "Don't think I'm afraid of you." Lu Ming was really angry. He roared and waved his long spear. The surrounding flames were driven by him and followed the momentum of the spear. They condensed into a fire dragon and blasted toward the young girl. Boom! The fire dragon and the girl's demonic palm collided. The black genuine qi and the fiery red flames exploded, sweeping in all directions. A few fire spirits nearby were directly blown away. Lu Ming and the young girl swayed at the same time and they were equally matched. In the fire formation, Lu Ming's combat strength was stronger while the young lady was suppressed. Lu Ming was completely able to fight her. "Let's see how you're going to take my storage ring. Now I'm going to hit you." Lu Ming shouted loudly, waving his long spear and lashing it at the young girl. "You!" The young girl gritted her teeth, and her pair of beautiful palms continuously struck out with dense palm energy. Boom! Boom! The rumbling sounds continued as Lu Ming and the young girl exchanged dozens of moves. However, Lu Ming became more and more courageous as the battle progressed, while the young girl's essential qi was slowly depleting. Previously, he had already expended a lot of energy to clear this passage. Now that he was fighting with Lu Ming, he naturally expended even more energy. On the other hand, Lu Ming had the advantage of the environment. He did not consume much energy in the fire array. Bang! After exchanging another blow with Lu Ming, the young girl retreated and left the passage. You win. I'm not going to fight with you anymore. I'm so tired." The young girl retreated a distance and sat on the ground. She was drenched in sweat and panting. Lu Ming walked forward cautiously and finally left the range of the large array in the passage. As soon as he left, the flames in the passage disappeared. Lu Ming did not go too far away from the passageway. He sat cross-legged at the entrance so that if the young lady attacked, he could escape into the passageway at once. "All right, I won't fight with you anymore. You're lucky to have obtained such a great opportunity this time," the young girl gritted her teeth and said, as if she was very unwilling to accept this. "You should have gained more than me, right? We're the same," Lu Ming said with a smile. "I spent a lot of effort to get in here. You've gained a lot. That's it. I see you're tired. Let's adjust our breathing together. Don't sneak and attack," the young girl said unhappily. "I'm afraid you'll sneak attack me." Lu Ming pursed his lips. After that, the two of them began to regulate their breathing. Of course, they both kept a part of their attention on each other, afraid that the other would suddenly attack. 3 hours later, the two of them stood up at the same time. "You've taken advantage of me before. Let's see how you're going to take advantage of me later." The girl snorted coldly and walked toward the altar behind the skeleton. Oh. Chapter 169. Chapter 169 Beast King Soul. 549690339. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He did not know why the young lady was walking toward the altar. The young girl walked to the side of the altar and circled around it, carefully sizing it up. Sometimes he observed carefully, sometimes he frowned in thought, and then he smiled. Just like that, after half an hour, the girl began to inscribe the inscription. The young lady's slender fingers began to move in the air. Her fingertips contained true qi, and as she moved them in the air, a strange pattern appeared. This was an inscription, and the girl was inscribing an inscription. Carving runes in the air, what a brilliant technique! Lu Ming sighed secretly. Even though he didn't know much about the Tao of inscription, he still had some basic knowledge. Generally speaking, it was not possible for a martial grandmaster to carve an inscription in the air. Inscriptions appeared in the air and flew toward the altar. On the stone altar, the ancient patterns seemed to come to life, emitting a faint halo. "Open it." A moment later, the young girl shouted and waved her hands, sending inscriptions into the altar. Soon after, the sacrificial altar buzzed and emitted rays of light that were extremely bright. Roar! Suddenly, the roar of a beast came from the altar. A fierce tiger rushed out of the altar and leaped into the air. The tiger was 3 meters tall and 6 meters long. It stood in the air and roared into the sky. It was majestic and a powerful aura spread out. A beast soul, what a complete beast soul! Lu Ming was shocked to see this. This fierce tiger didn't have a physical body, but it looked like it had a physical body. This was definitely a beast soul left behind by an extremely powerful demonic beast, and it was very complete. Heavenly demonic soul condensing technique? Take it! The girl shouted, and her whole body emitted a black light. Her hands formed a series of strange seals, and then, a black light shrouded the tiger beast soul. The tiger beast soul roared continuously. A strong pressure filled the cave, pressing down on Lu Ming's heart like a mountain. What a powerful beast soul! This beast soul was extremely powerful when it was alive. It must be a rank for demonic beast, and not an ordinary one at that. Lu Ming was shocked. The tiger beast soul roared, but it was useless. It turned into a ray of light and was put away by the girl. Ow! After the tiger beast soul was put away, the altar roared again, and a giant black wolf appeared in the air. Just like the tiger beast soul from before, this giant wolf was also a beast soul. Judging from its aura, it was not any weaker than the tiger beast soul from before. CSI. As soon as the beast soul of the giant wolf appeared, another cry was heard, and a giant snake more than 30 meters long appeared in the air. Another beast soul. There were so many powerful beast souls sealed in this stone altar. The real treasures are here. These are all beast souls of Half-Step King Realm. They were refined by the ancestors of the Dongi tribe with a secret technique. They are complete. If you merge them with your body, you can burst out with great power. It's a pity that you can't take them. Only I can. The young girl glanced at Lu Ming and laughed heartily. She was extremely pleased with herself. Then, the girl formed a seal and began to collect the beast's souls. Soon, the girl put away the beast's soul of the giant snake. At this moment, a bird-type beast soul with flames all over its body appeared. It screeched continuously and danced in the air. However, the altar seemed to have a force that restrained them, making it difficult for them to escape. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. This was because he felt that the demon-subduing spear in the Supreme Shrine was buzzing and vibrating, as if it was particularly excited. Oh, don't tell me. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. With a thought, the demon-subduing spear appeared in his hands. The moment the demon-subduing spear appeared, it trembled violently and flew out with a whoosh. The spear emitted a bright light that enveloped the two beast souls. Ow! Gah! With two roars, the two beast souls turned into two beams of light and were absorbed by the demon-subduing spear. Then the demon-subduing spear flew back to Lu Ming's hand. Oh! Not far away, the beautiful girl was dumbfounded. She opened her cherry-like mouth and stared at the altar with her big watery eyes. Then she stared at Lu Ming. To be more precise, she stared at the demon-subduing spear in Lu Ming's hand. After a long while, she let out an earth-shattering scream. Demon-subduing spear? How did you get a demon-subduing spear? The young girl shouted in disbelief. Buzz! At this moment, the altar trembled violently. It was 10 times, dozens of times stronger than before. Thump thump. A rumbling sound came from the altar, as if some great demon was about to step out. Boom! With a violent vibration, a giant Silavira wolf rushed out of the altar. The giant wolf was covered in Silavira white fur that flickered with a crystal-like luster. It stood in the air, and its height was 5 meters and its length was more than 10 meters. Ow! And NBSP. The giant Silavira wolf appeared and howled at the sky, releasing an unbelievably powerful pressure. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. It was as if he had been hit by a huge mountain. He retreated a few steps and spat out a mouthful of blood. The young girl was not much better off. She was also retreating, her face pale. Terrifying, it's too terrifying. What level is this beast soul of? It's only a beast soul, but it can emit such a terrifying pressure. How powerful must it have been when it was alive? Lu Ming looked at the Silavira wolf beast soul in the air, shocked beyond words. Beast King. This is the soul of the Beast King. Haha. The girl laughed and quickly formed a seal with her hands. A black light enveloped the Silavira wolf. Buzz. At this moment, the demon-subduing spear trembled violently, and also emitted a ray of light that shot toward the giant Silavira wolf. Ow! The giant Silavira wolf howled at the sky. However, he was only a beast soul, not a physical body. His aura was powerful, but he did not have much combat power. Kid, what are you doing? Why aren't you putting away your demon-subduing spear? The young girl shrieked. Put it away? Why should I keep it? Didn't you say I can't accept it? Lu Ming sneered. Ew, detestable. The young girl was helpless. She could only frantically form hand seals and snatch the beast's soul from the demon-subduing spear. The two rays of light covered the giant Silavira wolf soul and started to tear it apart. Buzz! In the end, the soul of the giant Silavira wolf actually split into two. Half was taken away by the girl, and the other half was taken away by the demon-subduing spear. Buzz! The demon-subduing spear flew back into Lu Ming's hands. You actually stole half of my Beast King soul. Return it to me. The young girl glared at Lu Ming fiercely. I won't. Lu Ming refused decisively and kept the demon-subduing spear. Beast King soul, this is a Beast King soul. With your current cultivation and physical strength, you can't use it at all. You should return it to me. The young girl glared at Lu Ming resentfully. Her large eyes were misty as if she was about to cry. She looked very pitiful. I won't. Lu Ming was unmoved and firmly refused. What a joke. This was the soul of a Beast King, and it had been preserved by the Dongi tribe with a secret technique. Even the outside world couldn't buy it. It was so precious that it was impossible to return it. Oh. Chapter 170. Chapter 170. Lu Ming is dead. 549690339. Bang! Right at this moment, the stone altar suddenly exploded, turning into rubble that scattered in all directions. The moment the altar exploded, the entire world shook violently. Outside the cave, the disciples of the mystical sword sect and the Dongi tribe stood opposite each other, waiting for the people inside to come out. Suddenly, the world shook and the earth rumbled. Boom! 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 In some places there were even huge cracks on the ground. What's going on? I don't know. Something's not right. The disciples of the mystical sword sect and the Dongi people were all shocked. In the sky, wind and clouds gathered, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was a scene of doomsday. Kachachi! Bolts of lightning that were thicker than one's thigh lit up the sky. Then everyone saw a shocking scene. The space actually cracked open and a hole appeared. It was pitch black inside, as if it led to the abyss of hell. Not good. This dimension is about to collapse. Go quickly, get out of this dimension. Otherwise we'll all die. Let's go. Everyone let out a cry of shock and rushed towards the door of light. Junior brother Lu Ming has yet to come out. What should we do? Chen Quan shouted. If he doesn't come out in time, he's dead. Who cares about him? Go. The leader of the White Tiger Hall's young men shouted. Everyone used all their strength and ran at high speed, wishing they had 2 more legs. As they ran, the world trembled even more violently. The earth cracked and the space crumbled. In the cave, Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. What's going on? Lu Ming said. This altar is the core of this plane. Now that the altar has collapsed, this small plane will also collapse. The young girl said indifferently. What? Then let's go. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically and he was about to rush out. It's too late to leave now. This cave mansion was built by a martial king realm expert. It's covered with a large number of profound inscriptions. When the realm collapses, the inscription formation will automatically activate to protect it. People from the outside can't enter, and people from inside can't leave either. The young girl said. Can't get out? Then aren't we going to be trapped here until we die? Lu Ming's expression was a little ugly. The young girl smiled and squinted her eyes. Yeah, I'm going to be trapped here for the rest of my life. Humph, I can't get out now. It's useless for you to take the beast's soul. Give it back to me. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he fell into deep thought. After a long while, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that the girl had known in advance that the plane would collapse. Since she knew, she still dared to collect the beast's soul in the altar and was so calm. She must have a way to get out. At this thought, Lu Ming's heart was set. He smiled and heaved a long sigh. There's nothing I can do. If I'm really trapped here, it's destined that I'll have to face this calamity. I can only accept it. As he said that, Lu Ming's gaze swept across the young girl's body and he praised, besides, it's not bad to have such a beauty as a companion. If you feel bored, we can have a bunch of children to keep us company. What do you think? Have a child? A pile. The veins on the young girl's forehead were already throbbing. You're despicable and shameless. In your dreams. Let me tell you, this plane won't collapse completely. There's a teleportation formation under the altar. 3 months later, when the plane stabilizes, we can teleport out. You still want to have a child with me? Bah, you're dreaming. The young girl shrieked as she pointed at Lu Ming with a trembling finger. Oh, I can go out? Lu Ming touched his nose and smiled. Humph. The young girl realized that she had fallen into Lu Ming's trap. She snorted coldly and glared at Lu Ming. It's a pity. Actually, if we really can't get out, it's not bad according to my idea. Lu Ming sighed. Not bad, your head. The young girl gritted her teeth. If not for the fact that Lu Ming could make use of the flame array in the passageway to greatly increase his combat strength, she would have taken him down and let him know the consequences of offending her. However, she was not confident now. She could only tell herself that if there was a chance, she would teach Lu Ming a lesson in the future. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth continued to shake, and it was becoming more and more intense. Outside the cave, the disciples of the mystical sword sect and the Dongi tribe were running for their lives. An hour later, everyone finally returned to the door of light that they had come in from. Without any hesitation, everyone rushed into the light door. When they reappeared, they had already returned to the Nine-Demon Mountain. After returning to the Nine Demons Mountain, everyone let out a long breath. I'm finally safe. A Dongi man laughed. The two patriarchs haven't come out yet, another person said. The Dongi people fell silent and waited. The disciples of the mystical sword sect did not leave either. They stood nearby waiting to know the result. Half an hour later, the door of light exploded with a bang. Forefather! Someone from the Dongi tribe shouted sorrowfully. The light door had exploded, and the plane had collapsed. Under such circumstances, only a martial king could survive. Even a martial grandmaster would die, let alone a grandmaster realm warrior. Those who didn't come out were dead. The atmosphere among the Dongi people was heavy. Junior brother Lu Ming. Chun Quan sighed. The other disciples of the mystical sword sect sighed as well. Lu Ming, a genius who had created miracles time and time again, ever since he entered the mystical sword sect, had fallen in this plane just like that. What a pity. However, this was how the path of martial arts was. No matter how talented one was, if they didn't grow up, they could fall in the future. On the continent, there were countless peerless geniuses who died every year. Haha, Lu Ming is dead. The disciples of the White Tiger Hall laughed in their hearts, especially those from the Duanmu family. Let's go. In the end, the mystical sword sect disciples and the Dongi tribe didn't continue their battle. Instead, they all rushed towards Dongke City. The news of Lu Ming's death also spread like wildfire. In the underground cave of the Dongi ruins, Lu Ming and the young lady waited quietly for an hour and a half. The tremors outside finally died down. Hey, how about this? You name a price and I'll buy those beast souls. What do you think? The young girl looked at Lu Ming again, still thinking about the beast souls. I'm not selling. Lu Ming still refused very straightforwardly. These beast souls had been refined by a secret skill. At a critical moment, they could be fused with him and burst out with a powerful force. This was a life-saving item. How could Lu Ming be willing to sell it? Let me tell you, although this beast soul can increase your combat strength for a short time, you can't use it with your current cultivation and physical body. If you fuse it with your body, you'll definitely explode and die, the young girl said. You don't have to worry about this. Lu Ming was stubborn. You fuck. The young girl gritted her teeth. In the end, he snorted coldly and turned around to leave. Hey, we're going to spend so much time together. I can't keep calling you hey, right? My name is Lu Ming. What's your name? Lu Ming said. The young girl stopped and turned around. Remember, my name is Xian Yanqing. This name will be your nightmare from now on. With that, he turned around and left in a huff. Oh. Chapter 171. Chapter 171. Xian Yanqing Earth Rank Martial Skill. 549690339. Lu Ming smiled and walked to the side of the cave. This underground cave was very large, and there were 5 to 6 holes on the walls scattered around the walls. There might be some treasures in these caves that were worth exploring. The entrance wasn't big. After walking in, they found that it was a small cave, which should have been excavated by someone. Inside, there was a stone bed, a stone table, and a few stone stools. Other than that, there was nothing else. Lu Ming looked around and was a little disappointed. He walked out of the cave and went to another cave. There was still nothing to be found in the cave. Lu Ming shook his head and walked out. He saw Xian Yanqing walking out from another cave. Lu Ming, I'm telling you. From today onwards, half of it belongs to me and the other half belongs to you. You're not allowed to step into the caves I'm in. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Humph. Xian Yanqing waved his hand and drew a line in the middle. Fine, I won't go. Lu Ming pursed his lips. Xian Yanqing's eccentric temper was something he had learned from experience. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, Xian Yanqing turned around and walked into a cave in a huff. Take a look at that storage ring and those 2 secret manuals. At the thought of this, Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. He could not be bothered with Xianyanqing. He turned around and walked into a cave. He sat cross-legged on a stone bed. With a single thought, he appeared in the supreme shrine. He moved his hand and the storage ring appeared in his hand. This is a storage ring left behind by a martial king. What's inside? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. He had an idea to enter the storage ring to take a look. However, the next moment Lu Ming was stunned. His mind couldn't enter because it was blocked by a layer of inscriptions. There were inscriptions on the storage ring that were extremely powerful and prevented others from peeking. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Then he wailed in his heart, this can't be played like this, right? It was not easy to get a martial king realm storage ring, but he could not open it. I don't believe it. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and held the storage ring in his hand. He circulated his essential qi and wisps of essential qi gushed toward the inscription on the storage ring like a dragon. With a swish, the genuine qi dissipated, but the inscriptions did not move at all. It's been so many years, but the inscriptions are still so strong. Lu Ming was speechless. Then he continued to channel his true qi. Similarly, the genuine qi dissipated, but the inscriptions remained. My cultivation is too weak, I can't open it at all. And no, the inscription is slightly weakened. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He sensed it carefully and found that the inscriptions on the storage ring had weakened a little. Although it was only a trace and could be ignored, it showed that Lu Ming's essential qi had some effect on the storage ring. As long as there was an effect and he persevered, he would be able to open it sooner or later. Continue. Lu Ming roused his spirits and continued to channel essential qi. 3 hours later, Lu Ming was sweating profusely and panting heavily. However, the inscriptions on the storage ring had only been weakened by a tiny bit, probably only 1/10,000th. It seems like I can only grind it slowly in the future. As my cultivation improves, I will weaken the inscription and speed up the process. This is the storage ring of a martial king. It is worth the effort. Lu Ming thought to himself. Now let's take a look at the 2 secret manuals. He took out 2 secret manuals and started reading. Lu Ming was overjoyed when he opened it. The first book was called Ancient Shield Technique, and it was a low-level Earth-grade defensive martial skill. It was actually an Earth-level martial arts technique, and it was a rare defensive martial arts technique. Lu Ming could not help but be delighted. One had to know that in the mystical sword sect, an Earth-grade high-level martial skill was the most top-notch martial skill. It was the sect's most important martial skill, and ordinary people had no right to cultivate it. And Ancient Shield Technique, Earth-grade low-level. After successfully cultivating it, one would be able to form an ancient shield to protect themselves. At the first stage, one could form an ancient shield. At the second level, one could form 2 ancient shields. And so on. When one cultivated to the 6th level, they would be able to condense 6 ancient shields. Moreover, the ancient shield could be controlled and stacked on defense at will. Even though it was similar to the defensive martial skill that Duangang cultivated, its might and profoundness were many times stronger. If I can cultivate this martial technique, how strong will my defense be? Lu Ming's heart was burning. This was an Earth-grade martial skill, and its power was much greater than a profound-grade martial skill. As long as one cultivated the first stage of an Earth-grade low-level martial arts technique, its power would be comparable to the 6th stage of a Black-grade high-level martial arts technique. Its power was simply unimaginable. Lu Ming's current Black-level low-grade martial arts technique had not even been cultivated to the 6th stage of the fire gun technique, let alone the 6th stage of the Black-level high-grade martial arts technique. After finishing the Ancient Shield Technique, Lu Ming started to read another book. 3 Palms, a low Earth-grade martial skill. It was another low-level Earth-level martial arts technique. Lu Ming's heart was beating wildly. Lu Ming took a closer look and was envious of the power of the 3 Palms. Which one should he cultivate? Although the power of a low Earth-level martial skill was extremely strong, the difficulty of cultivating it was equally terrifying. Now that there was no chanting, Lu Ming's speed of understanding the martial arts technique would definitely slow down. It was impossible for him to cultivate 2 books at the same time. He could only choose one to try. Let's train the ancient shield technique first. In terms of attack, I have the fire gun technique, and I haven't trained it to the highest level yet, so there's no rush. Lu Ming made up his mind to cultivate the ancient shield technique first. After that, he put away the manual and started to study the in detail. The earth-level martial arts technique was extremely mysterious. Lu Ming had spent a few hours but still could not figure out the way. No rush, no rush. An earth-rank martial skill is definitely not that easy to cultivate. I just need to spend some time every day to slowly comprehend it. Lu Ming secretly warned himself. At this moment, Lu Ming's essential qi had almost fully recovered. Lu Ming stood up and walked to the 3rd platform. He placed 9 spiritual crystals on the stone platform. Soon a figure was formed. Let the training begin. Lu Ming muttered and rushed toward the figure. Boom! 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 The 2 figures continued to bombard each other. In the process of the battle, Lu Ming constantly looked for the shortcomings in his martial arts techniques and made up for his weaknesses. Such a battle made rapid progress. When his essential qi was exhausted, Lu Ming stopped. He pondered on the ancient shield technique while he recovered his essential qi. A few days passed by in a flash. Lu Ming realized that every time he put in 9 spiritual crystals, the figure could only last for 6 hours before it disappeared. Lu Ming had made great progress in the continuous fierce battles. His martial arts technique had improved significantly. A few days later, Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine and came to the passage. He fought with the flame spirit and comprehended the force of fire. Every day, Lu Ming had a full schedule and strived to improve his ability as soon as possible. Xian Yanqing was also hiding in the opposite cave, probably cultivating. Just like that, a month passed. Lan Yu. In that passage, Lu Ming's long spear swept across and more than 10 flame spirits were swept away and exploded in the air. The fire gun controlling art has finally reached perfection. I've reached the 6th level human and martial arts as one. Lu Ming's eyes brightened and his lips curled into a smile. Oh. Chapter 172. Chapter 172. Chapter 172 Bitter Cultivation. 549690339. After a month of hard work, he finally made a breakthrough in the fire gun controlling art. He had reached the 6th level human and martial arts as one. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by another level. As for his fire force, it had also improved a lot and he was getting closer and closer to small success. Unfortunately, the progress of the ancient shield technique was still quite slow. There was still a big gap to the 1st level. However, he was still improving in all aspects. Lu Ming roused his spirits and continued cultivating. The fire gun control technique had been perfected. Next, Lu Ming put more energy into the ancient shield technique and the force of fire. He spent most of the day fighting the flame spirit in this tunnel. His comprehension of the force of fire was advancing by leaps and bounds. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another month had passed. On the 3rd platform of the Supreme Shrine, Lu Ming was engaged in a fierce battle with a blurry figure. That figure had completely replicated Lu Ming's combat strength. No matter how much Lu Ming improved, the other party would improve as well. Boom! Boom! In Lu Ming's hands, the fiery tongue spear was like a fire dragon. It danced in the air and exploded with great power. The space kept exploding. There's a flaw. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. His long spear was as fast as lightning, piercing towards the other party's right shoulder. Just as the tip of the spear was about to pierce into the man's shoulder, a light suddenly flashed on the man's body. A 1.5 meter long and 1 meter wide shield was formed. The shield looked very ancient and was bronze in color. It looked like the shield used by the ancient ancestors in the war. Clang! The spear struck the shield, creating a loud boom. Lu Ming shot with all his might, but the shield did not move at all. The huge force caused Lu Ming's long spear to bend. Whoosh! At this moment, the other party also thrust his spear at Lu Ming. It was as fast as lightning and it was too late to dodge. Ancient shield. With a single thought, An ancient shield that looked exactly the same as the other party appeared in front of Lu Ming. The other party's spear stabbed into the shield, but it did not move at all. This was the ancient shield technique. After 2 months of hard work, Lu Ming had finally succeeded in cultivating it 2 days ago. He had reached the first level and could condense an ancient shield to protect himself. The Earth-level martial arts technique was indeed an Earth-level martial arts technique. Its power was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. Even if he used all his strength, he could not break through it at all. With the ancient shield technique, as long as there was someone with similar battle strength to him, he could simply stand in an undefeatable position. Boom! Lu Ming and the figure both cast the ancient shield technique. They completely ignored each other's attacks and attacked each other wildly. Even if it's an Earth-rank martial skill, it should have its weakness. It's impossible for it to be without any flaws. What I need to do is to find the flaws of the ancient shield technique in the battle with myself. This way, my comprehension of the ancient shield technique will be greatly accelerated. Lu Ming was very clear that the figure condensed on the third platform had the same combat strength as him. As long as he kept trying to defeat him, his martial arts technique would continue to improve. The force of fire is just a little bit away from the initial success. I feel that it won't be long. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. Lu Ming felt extremely refreshed as he was improving in all aspects. What could be more satisfying than watching yourself get stronger and stronger? The battle continued. Lu Ming only stopped when the 6 hours were up and the spiritual energy of the spirit crystal was almost exhausted. Holding a piece of spiritual crystal in both hands, Lu Ming started to recover. With the appearance of the spirit-devouring bloodline, the spirit energy in the spirit crystal was devoured and refined by the bloodline in the blink of an eye, turning into Lu Ming's essential qi. Not long after, Lu Ming's essential qi was restored and even improved. A few days ago, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved, and he had reached the middle of the second-grade Grandmaster realm. After his essential qi had recovered, Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine. He planned to take a stroll in the cave and relax. When they arrived at the cave, Lu Ming could not help but look at the cave where Xian Yanqing was. It had been 2 months. Xian Yanqing had been hiding in the cave and had not come out. Moreover, Lu Ming could vaguely hear the sound of running water. What's in that cave? Lu Ming's curiosity was overflowing and he decided to take a look. He retracted his aura and approached carefully. When they arrived at the entrance of the cave, the sound of running water became even clearer. Great, so there really is water. I haven't had a drop of water for a month. Lu Ming's eyes emitted a burning glow. Even though he had brought some water with him in his storage ring, he had already used it up a month ago. In this 1 month, he hadn't had enough water. With his cultivation, it would be fine even if he didn't drink water for half a year because he could absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to replenish his energy. However, it was still very uncomfortable. He tiptoed in and a river came into view. Yes, a river. There was actually an underground river here. It was 5 to 6 meters wide, and the river water was trickling. No one knew where it flowed to. How was this a cave? It was clearly another huge underground cave. However, Xian Yanqing was nowhere to be seen. Strange, where did Xian Yanqing go? Lu Ming walked to the underground river and looked around curiously. However, Xian Yanqing was nowhere to be seen. Who cares? She might be cultivating in another cave. I'll take a shower first. Lu Ming had not taken a bath for 2 months, and he felt that his body was going to stink. At this time, he saw an underground river and suddenly felt itchy all over. Lu Ming took off his clothes in no time. Voila! At this moment, the water in the river in front of Lu Ming splashed and a figure emerged from the water. Wasn't that Xian Yanqing? As soon as Xian Yanqing came out of the water, she saw a man standing in front of her. She was stunned as well. Her eyes widened and she stared at Lu Ming with a dumbfounded expression. Ah! A moment later, a deafening scream came from the cave. Nest! Lu Ming also came to his senses. He picked up his clothes and put them on in no time. Xian Yanqing, on the other hand, sank to the bottom of the river. After a few breaths, she came back up again. The difference was that she was wearing a long dress. Lu Ming, I'm going to kill you. Xian Yanqing shrieked and charged at Lu Ming like lightning. While in the air, he struck out a few palm strikes in succession. A few strong palm prints blasted towards Lu Ming. Third grade Great Master Realm. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Obviously, Xian Yanqing had made a breakthrough in his cultivation in the past 2 months. Lu Ming did not take it head-on. Instead, he used his midair step and dodged Xian Yanqing's palm. After 2 months of cultivation, his midair steps had also improved to the 4th level. Don't even think about dodging. Xian Yanqing shouted and struck out 6 palm strikes in a row. All at once, 6 demonic palm prints flew towards Lu Ming. So strong, he's become stronger again. Lu Ming was secretly surprised. In the past 2 months, he had been improving, and so had Xian Yanqing. Oh. Chapter 173. Chapter 173. Chapter 173 100-Year-Old Shrimp. 549690339. Hey, are you crazy? I didn't do it on purpose. Lu Ming shouted loudly and used his midair step to dodge with all his might. I don't care if it's intentional or not. In any case, you've seen it. I'm going to dig your eyes out. Xian Yanqing's eyes were cold. Fuck, so what if I saw it? I was even seen by you? How should we settle this? Lu Ming shouted angrily. Shameless pervert, despicable scum. Xian Yanqing's face was red with anger as he cursed incoherently. Lu Ming was speechless. Boom! Boom! Xian Yanqing's palm was even more powerful, sealing Lu Ming from all directions. Even if Lu Ming used the midair step, it was difficult for him to dodge. Ancient Shield. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming cast the Ancient Shield technique. An ancient shield condensed and floated in front of him. Boom! Boom! Xian Yanqing's demonic palm continued to hit the ancient shield. There was a series of violent explosions. The ancient shield in front of Lu Ming shook violently, but it was not broken. It had completely blocked Xian Yanqing's demonic palm. An Earth-rank martial skill? You've actually cultivated an Earth-rank martial skill? Xian Yanqing exclaimed in disbelief. Usually, only martial arts grandmasters were qualified to cultivate Earth-level martial arts techniques. Now, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated it with his 2nd-grade Grandmaster Realm cultivation. It was no wonder that Xian Yanqing was shocked. Haha, now you know how powerful I am? It's already like this, why don't you just follow me and follow me in the future? Don't fight anymore, I won't lower myself to your level. Lu Ming laughed out loud, very cocky. I'll dig out your eyes from your big head. Xian Yanqing shouted and launched a storm of attacks on Lu Ming. One had to admit that Xian Yanqing was too powerful. In terms of combat strength, Lu Ming was definitely not his match. However, Lu Ming had cultivated the Ancient Shield technique, and all of Xian Yanqing's attacks were blocked by the Ancient Shield. Xian Yanqing struck dozens of times but did not manage to break Lu Ming's defense. Instead, he was so tired that he was panting. Xian Yanqing, you're the one who was unkind first. You monopolize such a good place and you still have the cheek to hit me. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Lu Ming shouted coldly. While defending, Lu Ming did not forget to attack. His long spear pierced through the air and continuously attacked Xian Yanqing's vital points, but they were all dispersed by Xian Yanqing's palm force. The two of them exchanged hundreds of moves, and neither of them was able to defeat the other. After the last exchange, both of them retreated a dozen steps and stood facing each other. Xian Yanqing was panting heavily. His face turned red at the thought of the scene just now. He glared at Lu Ming fiercely. If looks could kill, Lu Ming would have been pierced through like a hornet's nest. Lu Ming was also sweating and panting like a bull. He held a few spirit crystals in his hand and controlled his blood meridian to recover with all his might. Although the power of an Earth-rank martial skill was great, the consumption of true qi was also extremely terrifying. Hey, why are you staring at me so hard? Do you still want to see it? Lu Ming could not help but say. As soon as the words left his mouth, Lu Ming wished he could give himself a slap and secretly curse himself for having a cheap mouth. As expected, Xian Yanqing's eyes widened even more. A sharp murderous intent emerged from his eyes. He gritted his teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. He wished he could bite Lu Ming. However, this time Xian Yanqing did not make a move. Instead, he glared at Lu Ming and said coldly, "I'll let it go this time. Now please leave this place. I've already said it before, this place belongs to me." "Belong to you? Why? Can you finish using this underground river? I'm going to take a shower now." After a huge battle, Lu Ming felt itchy all over. He could not wait to jump into the underground river and take a bath. "No," Xian Yanqing said coldly. "No? I'm a man, and a man can't say that he can't do it. Even if he can't, he has to do it today. Look, I'm undressing. If you like to look, you can look more." Having said that, Lu Ming began to undress. He realized that he couldn't use normal methods to deal with Xian Yanqing. It was easier to deal with him by being a little more shameless. As expected, Xian Yanqing's eyes burned with rage when he saw Lu Ming undressing. However, in the end, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and leave. "Ha ha ha!" Lu Ming laughed heartily. He took off all his clothes and jumped into the underground river. The river water was extremely cold. Lu Ming felt every pore on his body open up and a wave of comfort spread throughout his body. "Cool, this is too cool." Lu Ming could not help but sigh. After that, Lu Ming soaked in the water leisurely. There are fish in the water." Lu Ming suddenly felt that there was something swimming around in the water. Lu Ming dived into the water. The underground river was quite deep, at least more than 10 meters deep. When Lu Ming dived in, he saw many Acelivera white shrimp the size of a palm swimming around. "So it's a shrimp. Wait, is this a 100-year-old shrimp?" Lu Ming's eyes widened in surprise. The 100-year shrimp was a strange species that could live for at least 100 years. It was extremely rare, and it usually lived in some unpopulated places. The most famous thing about the centenarian shrimp was that its meat was extremely delicious and contained a large amount of essence. If a warrior ate it, it could continuously improve his body and increase the strength of his body. In the outside world, each of them could be sold for a sky-high price. However, Lu Ming could see a group of them at a glance. No wonder Xian Yanqing didn't want to leave. There are 100-year prawns here. How cunning. Lu Ming initially felt sorry for Xian Yanqing, but now he felt indignant. "I'll catch it." Lu Ming's claws reached out, and essential qi gushed out, forming a net of essential qi that enveloped the centenarian shrimp. Voila! There were at least 20-odd century prawns caught by Lu Ming. He took out a jade box, filled it with water, and placed the prawns into the jade box before storing it in the supreme shrine. Then he twisted his body and swam forward like a fish, catching a group of 100-year prawns. In less than half an hour, Lu Ming had caught hundreds of century prawns. There are so many century prawns in this underground river. There should be more in other places. I'll come back in a few days. Lu Ming rushed out of the water, satisfied. He put on his clothes. When they walked out of the cave, they didn't see Xian Yanqing's figure. He should be in another cave. Lu Ming could not be bothered with them. He returned to the cave and sat on the stone bench. With a wave of his hand, a box of 100-year prawns was placed on the stone table. The centenarian shrimp was the size of a palm, and was Acelivera white in color. Lu Ming picked one up and shook it to death with his essential qi. Then he peeled off the shell. It revealed the crystal clear and incomparably fat prawn meat. Lu Ming took a bite. It was extremely fresh and tender in his mouth. There was no fishy taste. Instead, there was a faint fragrance. It was indeed very delicious. Lu Ming finished a century shrimp in a few moves. Soon after, he felt a cool energy spread throughout his body, seeping into his muscles and bones. A numbing itch spread out and it was very comfortable. Immediately, Lu Ming circulated the flaming Vajra arts to refine this energy and increase the strength of his body. The effects of the 100-year prawns are indeed astonishing. It's just as the rumors say. A moment later, Lu Ming felt that his physical body had improved. It was more effective than 10 days of bitter cultivation. Oh. Chapter 174. Chapter 174. Chapter 174 Return. 549690339. Following that, Lu Ming ate more than 10 prawns in a row. After refining the essence of more than 10 hundred-year prawns, Lu Ming's physical body was getting closer and closer to the upper tier of the second stage. It tastes really good, but it should be better if I change the taste. Lu Ming clicked his tongue. Then his eyes lit up. He got up and walked out, coming to the flaming passageway. As soon as he entered the passage, flames and flame spirits emerged from the passage. Roast it for me. Lu Ming waved his hand and more than 10 centuries-old prawns appeared. They were controlled by Lu Ming's essential qi and floated in the air. Lu Ming had actually used the flames here to roast the prawns. If the Dongyi ancestors who had set up the inscriptions were to see this, they would be so angry that they would climb out of their coffins. The centuries-old prawns emitted a sizzling sound, and soon the fragrance assailed his nose. As for the flame spirits, they were all blasted away by Lu Ming's long spear. As time passed, the fragrance became stronger and stronger. In the end, the fragrance filled the entire underground cave. Xian Yanqing's figure appeared at the entrance of a cave and looked over curiously. When she saw Lu Ming looking at her, she could not help but let out a cold snort and returned to the cave. Lu Ming could not be bothered with her. At that moment, the century shrimp had been roasted and its entire body had turned red. He moved his index finger and went out of the passage. He picked up one and peeled it. The aroma was several times stronger after he peeled the shell. He couldn't wait to take a bite. It was soft and tender, and the fragrance was incomparably rich. It was several times more delicious than when it wasn't roasted. Cool, this is too cool. After that, Lu Ming finished the dozen or so roasted prawns like a tornado. He then returned to the cave in satisfaction to refine the essence of the roasted prawns. His physical body was constantly improving. Not long after, the essence of the dozen or so roasted prawns was refined. At this time, a strong fragrance came from outside. Lu Ming walked out of the cave and saw Xian Yanqing copying him. He was roasting prawns in the passageway. Xian Yanqing's face turned red when he saw Lu Ming. He glared at Lu Ming and snorted coldly before continuing to roast the prawns. Ha ha ha! Lu Ming laughed heartily. He returned to the cave and continued cultivating. 5 days later, Lu Ming finished his 100-year prawns and went to the underground river to catch more. Xian Yanqing was helpless. Lu Ming had cultivated the ancient shield technique, and she could not break it for the time being. She could only let Lu Ming catch more. To break through an Earth-rank defensive martial skill, only a similar Earth-rank offensive martial skill could have a possibility. Or perhaps his cultivation was too much stronger. Xian Yanqing's cultivation technique was special. She hadn't started to cultivate Earth-level martial skills yet. Just wait until I cultivate an Earth-grade martial skill. I'll make you suffer. Xian Yanqing could only comfort himself in this way. In this way, Lu Ming would go to catch the century shrimp every few days. Time flew by, and 3 months had passed since the collapse of the small plane. In the last period of time, with the help of the centenarian shrimp, Lu Ming's physical body directly rushed to complete second grade. The progress was so fast that Lu Ming was speechless. Therefore, in the last few days, Lu Ming was hunting for century prawns crazily and storing them. Of course, Xian Yanqing was the same. Almost all the 100-year prawns in that section of the river were caught. Once the 3 months were up, the place where the stone altar had exploded began to emit rays of light. On the ground, inscriptions glowed and covered the ground like a net. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stood at the side and waited. A few hours later, the inscriptions glowed and finally condensed into a door of light. Spatial path, teleportation gate. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He could finally get out after being trapped here for 3 months. He had gained a lot in the past 3 months. Although the cultivation environment here was much better than the outside world, if he stayed here all the time, his family and friends outside would definitely be worried. Moreover, cultivating arduously might not necessarily be more effective. A martial artist needed to train in the world of mortals, go through all kinds of things, and temper their mental state in order to keep improving. Buzz! Buzz! When the portal appeared, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing moved at the same time and rushed into the door of light. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Ming realized that he was back on the Nine Demons Mountain when he calmed down. He and Xian Yanqing were standing on a huge stone statue of a demonic beast. Under their feet there was a bright light. Then the light dimmed and everything returned to normal. One-way teleportation. It seems like it's impossible to enter in the future. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming, I'll settle the score with you sooner or later. Humph. Xian Yanqing glared at Lu Ming. I'll play with you anytime, but don't get beaten up by me the next time you see me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You beat me up? How is that possible? Next time, I'll definitely break your turtle shell and trample you under my feet. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and disappeared from the Nine Demon Mountain like a black butterfly. Lu Ming smiled and did not mind. I wonder how the war in East Lacking City is going. Lu Ming's thoughts returned to the war in East Lacking City. After that, Lu Ming's figure moved. He stepped on the tip of a tree and rushed toward Dongke City. After half a day, Dongke City was already in sight. But now, the situation in Dongke City was completely different from 3 months ago. 3 months ago, Dongke City was on high alert. But now the city gates were open and people were coming in and out. It seemed that the war in Dongke City had ended. After Lu Ming entered the city, he went straight to the city lord's residence. He wanted to find Fu Liang to find out more about the situation. When he revealed his identity as a mystical sword sect disciple, he naturally met Fu Liang without any obstructions. Lu Ming, you're not dead. Fu Liang was shocked to see Lu Ming. City Lord Fu, I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Young hero Lu Ming, it's great that you're not dead. The disciples of the mystical sword sect came back that day and said that you died in the ruins of the Dongyi tribe. Fu Liang explained the situation during this period. 3 months ago, the mystical sword sect disciples had returned. There were only about 50 of them left, and they said that the rest had died in the Dongyi tribe's ruins. The Dongyi tribe also retreated to the mountains by the sea a day later. This incident shook the mystical sword sect. Many people came to look for Lu Ming, but they all returned empty-handed. Lu Ming guessed that those people should be Pang Shi, Feng Wu, Mulan, and the others. I heard that the mystical sword sect has confirmed your death in battle, and has even informed your family. Fu Liang said. What? I've already informed my family. Lu Ming's heart tightened. How sad would Li Ping be if she knew that he was already dead? In Li Ping's heart, Lu Yuntian was already dead. Lu Ming was her only hope. If she knew that Lu Ming was dead, how desperate would she be? At this moment, Lu Ming's heart was set on returning home. City Lord Fu, thank you very much. I have to make a trip home now. Goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the Castellan's residence without a moment's delay. He rushed towards Fiery Wind City. Fortunately, Dongke City was not too far away from Fiery Wind City. Lu Ming used his midair steps and rushed at full speed. He was like a gust of wind, rushing towards Fiery Wind City. When his genuine qi was exhausted, he would use spiritual crystals to recover it. Oh. Lu Ming finally returned to Fiery Wind City 3 days later. Oh. Chapter 175. Chapter 175. A shocking change in the Lu clan. 549690339. Ah? Look who's that. Lu Ming, that's the Lu family's young master Lu Ming. I heard that he's already dead, right? So he didn't die. Something big is going to happen. As soon as Lu Ming walked into Fiery Wind City, the crowd around him looked at him and started to discuss. Lu Ming frowned. He felt that the people around him were looking at him strangely. Other than surprise, there was also a trace of pity. Lu Ming was puzzled, but he did not stop. He went straight to the Lu family. Soon he arrived at the Lu family's gate. Who's there? Stop right there, huh? Young master? Lu Ming. A burly man guarding the door shouted. Then, he saw that it was Lu Ming and let out a surprised cry. The other guards were also shocked. It's me. I'm not dead. Move. Lu Ming said. He was about to walk inside. However, a few burly men guarding the door pulled out their sabers and stood in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you can't go in. Impudent. Lu Ming shouted and his brows furrowed even more. The guards of the Lu family had actually called him by his name, and even pulled out their knives to stop him. Something was wrong. Seeing that Lu Ming was angry, the few burly guards turned pale. Clearly they were afraid. Lu Ming, we're just following orders. No one is allowed to enter. One of them gritted his teeth. Orders? Whose orders? Lu Ming berated him, but the bad premonition in his heart grew stronger. Young master, leave quickly, don't come back. Suddenly, a white-haired old man rushed out and shouted. Uncle Chong, what's going on? Lu Ming shouted. This old man was an old servant of the Lu clan. He did not have much cultivation, but he had always been loyal to the Lu clan. Young master, it's the first patriarch. He's back with many powerful warriors. He wants to take over the Lu family. Several core patriarchs have been killed. The other branches of the Lu family have all turned to the first patriarch. You'd better leave. Uncle Chong shouted. What? Lu Yunxiang. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Where's my mother? How's my mother? The first person that Lu Ming thought of was Li Ping. Madam has been locked up in the courtyard of the main hall and interrogated by them for 2 days. This old servant also does not know what the situation is like. Young master, the great elder has brought many experts with him this time. You're not his match, so you'd better leave first. As long as you're alive, you'll have hope. Uncle Chong tried to persuade him, his old face full of worry. Boom, boom, boom. Uncle Chong's words were like bolts of lightning that exploded in Lu Ming's heart. In an instant, an indescribable cold killing intent emanated from Lu Ming's body. Lu Yunxiang. Lu Ming muttered, his eyes extremely cold. At the same time, he was extremely afraid that something had happened to Li Ping. The few burly guards and Uncle Chong shivered and a chill ran up to their heads. Whoosh! Suddenly, a cold beam of light shot out from behind the door. It was too sudden. Lu Ming was shocked and wanted to save her, but it was too late. A sword light pierced through Chongbo's back. Blood splattered everywhere as Chongbo fell to the ground. Young master, run! Uncle Chong shouted and gradually lost his breath. A young man in his 20s walked out from behind the gate and said coldly, Old man, you actually dared to disclose information. You're courting death. Then, he looked at Lu Ming with a slightly surprised expression. Lu Ming, you're really lucky. You landed in the ruins of the Dongi tribe and you're still alive. But you shouldn't have come back. Since you're back, I'll send you on your way. Die. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression was calm, but the killing intent in his eyes was colder than 10,000-year-old profound ice. This young man had a green wood embroidered on his sleeve. He was obviously a young expert from the Duanmu family. What? You want to kill me? I know that your combat strength is comparable to an ordinary 5th grade Great Martial Master, but I'm also a 5th grade Great Martial Master. Do you think that I'm just an ordinary 5th grade Great Martial Master? The young man from the Duanmu family sneered. Nonsense, die. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming erupted with all his might. The powerful genuine qi, coupled with the power of fire, was like a volcanic eruption. Boom. The long spear swept towards the youth from the Duanmu family. The youth from the Duanmu family's expression changed drastically as he raised his sword to block. But dash. Boom. Lu Ming's long spear collided with his long sword. It was as if he had been hit by a volcano. His body was like a cannonball flying backward. He crashed into 2 walls in a row and was finally embedded in the 3rd wall. What? How is that possible? His eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. With just one move, all the bones in his body were broken, and he was embedded in the wall like a pool of mud. How could Lu Ming be so powerful? He was a genius, and his combat strength was not comparable to an average 5th grade grandmaster. Yet, he could not even withstand one move from Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the spear in his hand and walked towards the youth from the Duanmu family. The few burly men guarding the door were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies and they were trembling all over. Lu Ming, don't kill me. The Duanmu family has a 9th grade grandmaster here. If you kill me, your entire family will die, and your mother will be in a miserable state. The youth from the Duanmu family cried out in shock. Whoosh! The long spear in Lu Ming's hands turned into a ray of light and shot out, piercing through the young man's heart and nailing him to the wall. Lu Ming leaped over 2 walls, pulled out his long spear, and headed toward the Lu family's courtyard. The Lu clan's courtyard was outside the Lu clan's conference hall. It occupied a large area. At this moment, an old man was sitting on an armchair at the entrance of the conference hall, resting with his eyes closed. There were more than 10 people standing around the old man. One of them was Lu Yunxiong, who was staring at the courtyard with a cold expression. In the courtyard, Li Ping and the 4 core elders of the Lu clan stood together. They were surrounded by more than 30 burly men. These people were basically from the Duanmu family. However, there was an exception, and that was Ning Kong. Yes, it was Ning Feng's father, one of the chief elders of the Vermilion Bird, Ning Kong. Li Ping, have you thought it through? Announce to the entire Lu family that you'll pass the position of the Lu family's patriarch to me. Then kneel down in front of everyone and apologize to me. Admit that you've let me down. Lu Yunxiong coldly looked at Li Ping and said, You wish. You're dreaming. Li Ping rejected him directly. Don't even think? I've starved you for 2 days, but it seems that it's not enough. Then continue to starve and stand here. I'll see how long you can hold on. Lu Yunxiong said gloomily. Li Ping's face was pale, and her body was trembling. She looked extremely weak. It had been 2 days. It had already been 2 days. She had been forced to stand in the courtyard by Lu Yunxiong. She had no food, no water, and had to endure the scorching sun. Li Ping was only an ordinary person and did not practice martial arts, so she could not protect herself with true qi. At this time she was extremely weak and could collapse at any time. Oh! Chapter 176. Chapter 176. Lu Ming did not die. 549690339. Lu Yunxiong, just give up. Even if I die, I won't let you have your way. Li Ping berated. Bitch, what's the use of you hanging on? Your husband is dead. Now that little bastard Lu Ming is dead too. I want all of you to die for opposing me. Lu Yunxiong berated. You're talking nonsense. My son Lu Ming will never die. Li Ping shouted. Won't die? Don't lie to yourself, he's already dead. You have no one to rely on. Lu Yunxiong laughed coldly as he attacked Li Ping. Li Ping's body trembled, and tears welled up in her eyes. Although she did not admit it, she knew very well that Lu Ming had really met with an accident. The mystical sword sect had specially sent someone to announce it, so how could it be wrong? She was in despair. Lu Yunxiong, aren't you afraid of being punished by the higher-ups of the mystical sword sect for what you've done? One of the core elders shouted. Haha, punishment? When Lu Ming was alive, he was indeed a peerless genius and was valued by the mystical sword sect. But now that he's dead, who would punish me for a dead person? Besides, you should have seen that everyone here is from the Duanmu family. Why would the higher-ups of the mystical sword sect punish the Duanmu family? What a joke! Lu Yunxiong laughed maniacally. The other men from the Duanmu family also laughed out loud. What a pity, what a pity! It's a pity that Lu Ming the little bastard is dead. Otherwise, I'll kill his mother in front of him, and let him have a taste of losing a loved one. Ning Kong said coldly. Bah, shameless man. Like father like son. Look at you. No wonder your son died at Ming Er's hands. Li Ping glared at Ning Kong and said in disdain. You're looking for death. Ning Kong was furious. He said to Lu Yunxiong, Brother Lu, I don't think we should wait any longer. Let me do it now and torture this bitch. I want her to suffer a fate worse than death. At that time she will agree to whatever conditions you have. Lu Yunxiong, let's do this. We don't have that much time to waste here. The elder from the Duanmu family who was sitting on the armchair opened his eyes. Good. I'll leave this person to you, Brother Ning. You can do whatever you want with him, and use whatever methods you have. Lu Yunxiong sneered. Lu Yunxiong, what are you guys doing? Are you even human to treat the Lu family like this? A core elder of the Lu family bellowed. Bang! Suddenly, Ning Kong moved and struck the core elder with his palm. Ning Kong was a 9th-grade Grandmaster Realm expert and a core elder of the Lu family. How could he withstand the attack? His body was pierced through by the powerful palm force and he flew out. He stopped breathing. You old fogies, you're looking for death by chirping here. Ning Kong said coldly. You guys, you'll all die a horrible death. Lu Yunxiong, you'll receive your retribution. The other 3 core elders shouted. Now, only 3 of the 7 core elders of the Lu family were left. The rest had been killed by the Duanmu family 2 days ago. Shut up, you old fogies. I wanted to spare your lives, but it seems like there's no need for that now. Attack and kill them all. Lu Yunxiong waved his hand. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Oh. Around them, a few of the Duanmu family's men unsheathed their sabers and were about to attack. At this moment, a bloodied man ran in. It's bad, it's bad. The burly man shouted. What's going on? Lu Yunxiong's expression changed. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. The burly man exclaimed. Everyone was shocked by his words. What Lu Ming? Lu Ming is already dead. Lu Yunxiong said, no, he's not dead. He's not dead. He's entered the place. The burly man shouted, his eyes flashing with fear. What? Lu Yunxiong and the others were shocked. Oh. As for Li Ping, the 3 core elders were stunned for a moment before they were overjoyed. Minger didn't die. Minger didn't die. Li Ping mumbled to herself and cried tears of joy. Her tears kept falling and she was so excited that her entire body was trembling. Haha, the young master didn't die. I knew it. The young master is a genius. How could he die? The core elder of the Lu clan laughed. Impossible, how is that possible? Lu Yunxiong roared. Nothing is impossible. A cold shout came from the sky, and a young figure stepped on the void. His body was as light as nothing and he actually floated in just like that. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. It's really him. He really didn't die. Exclamations of shock came from the crowd. Haha. It's really the young master. The 3 core elders laughed. Ming, Li Ping was extremely excited. Lu Ming, it's really him. Lu Yunxiong and Ning Kong growled in shock. Lu Ming did not look at the others. He took a few steps forward and landed in front of Li Ping like the wind. Looking at Li Ping's pale and weak face, Lu Ming's heart throbbed with pain. His eyes reddened as he said, Mother, your son has come late, and has made you suffer. Minger, is that really you? Mother thought that she would never see you again. Li Ping touched Lu Ming's face, tears streaming down her face. Initially, she really thought that Lu Ming had died and her heart was filled with despair. Now Lu Ming was standing in front of her alive and well. This kind of joy was indescribable. She seemed to have recovered a lot of energy. Mother, take this pill. Lu Ming took out a pill that could replenish blood and qi, and let Li Ping consume it. Li Ping took the medicinal pill, but her expression changed drastically as if she had recalled something. She said, Minger, leave quickly. Don't worry about Mother, leave quickly. Leave? Since you're already here, you still want to leave? What a joke. Lu Yunxiong's voice was cold. Lu Ming turned around slowly. His expression was cold and his eyes were icy. His gaze swept across Lu Yunxiong, Ning Kong, and the other members of the Duanmu family. He said coldly, all of you will die. Lu Ming's killing intent was extremely strong. He had never felt such strong killing intent towards a person. A dragon had a reverse scale, and anyone who touched it would be killed. To Lu Ming, his family was his weak spot. Haha, Lu Ming, you still want to kill us? What a joke. Lu Yunxiong laughed. Kill him. Lu Ming must be killed. Kill him and we'll pretend that he didn't appear today and died in the Dongyi ruins. The old man sitting on the armchair stood up and coldly said, if Lu Ming were to return to the mystical sword sect, it would be difficult for them to take action. He might as well kill Lu Ming today and pretend that he had not appeared and died in the Dongyi ruins. This way, the higher-ups of the mystical sword sect would not find out as long as they did not send anyone to investigate. Lu Ming, it's good that you're not dead. Today, I'll kill the person closest to you in front of you, and let you have a taste of the pain of losing a loved one. Haha. Ningkong laughed. Lu Ming, you're really stupid. If I were you, I'd run back to the mystical sword sect. How dare you show up here so openly? You're the one who's looking for death. Lu Yunxiong laughed. Oh. Chapter 177. Chapter 177. Chapter 177 The Outbreak of a War. 549690339. Young master, leave quickly, don't worry about us. One of the core elders shouted. Kill. Kill. However, Lu Ming's killing intent soared to the heavens. His aura exploded as he swept his spear at the Duanmu family members. Kill him. Lu Yunxiong shouted. Buzz. Buzz. One after another, sabers were unsheathed. The Duanmu family's burly men roared in anger and slashed at Lu Ming. Dozens of people attacked together. However, Lu Ming's long spear swept past and the saber light collapsed. 5 to 6 burly men were swept away by Lu Ming like cannonballs. They crashed into the walls of the courtyard and slid down like mud, not breathing at all. Kill. Lu Ming shouted angrily and swept his spear again, killing another 7 to 8 burly men. These were all martial artists at the Master Realm. They were far inferior to Lu Ming. Attack! Great Martial Master, attack! Lu Yunxiong was furious. On the stairs, more than a dozen Grandmaster Realm martial artists dashed out and pounced on Lu Ming. The weakest of the dozen or so Great Martial Masters was at the 1st grade Great Martial Master Realm, and the strongest was at the 5th grade Great Martial Master Realm. More than a dozen people joined forces and their power was astonishing. Landslide. In an instant, Lu Ming burst out with all his strength without holding back. Bloodline, power of fire, all of them were unleashed, and his combat strength was fully unleashed. During this period of time, Lu Ming had made great progress. Before he came out, he had finally achieved small success in the Force of Fire. The Force of Fire was at the initial success stage and its power was extremely terrifying. It made Lu Ming look like he was filled with scorching heat, as if he was a volcano with raging flames. Boom! Lu Ming did not care about the attacks. He swept his long spear with the force of a landslide. Bang! Bang! The result was the same as before. Lu Ming crushed them like rotten wood. 4 to 5 Grandmaster Realm powerhouses were sent flying. Their bones were broken and their internal organs were shattered. They died before they even landed on the ground. Strong, unbelievably strong. Lu Yunxiong and the others gasped in shock and anger. Li Ping and the 3 core elders were shocked and overjoyed. Kill. Lu Ming's killing intent was like the tide. His aura was like a rainbow, and his eyes were bloodshot. Boom! He swept his spear again and killed a few more Great Master Realm experts. Lu Ming held the spear in his hand and was like an undefeatable god of war. He killed his way through as if no one was there. The Duanmu family members were shocked and couldn't help but retreat. This kid can't be left alive. He's too terrifying. Ningkong, Lu Yunxiong, and the others roared in their hearts. They were extremely shocked. Every time he saw Lu Ming, he would realize that Lu Ming's abilities would increase by a huge margin as if it would never stop. I'll kill him. Ningkong bellowed and pounced at Lu Ming like an eagle. In the air he struck out with his palm. Ningkong, a 9th grade Great Martial Master, struck out with an earth-shattering palm. The space rumbled and the air exploded. A terrifying pressure surged toward Lu Ming. Ancient shield. An ancient shield appeared in front of Lu Ming. Explode. At the same time, Lu Ming unleashed his most powerful move, blasting it at Ningkong's palm force. Boom! A terrifying blast of air rolled in all directions and Lu Ming's attack was crushed. The powerful palm force continued to blast toward Lu Ming. Li Ping turned pale with fright. At this moment, Li Ping was being led by 3 core elders and retreated to a corner of the courtyard. Clang! The powerful palm force slammed into the shield in front of Lu Ming, causing a violent explosion. The ancient shield trembled continuously and then exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming's body was thrown backward more than 20 meters, and he crashed heavily into a wall before he stopped. He spat out a mouthful of blood. A 9th-grade great martial master is indeed powerful. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Just now, he had already resisted with all his strength. First, he used the move of explosion to cut off a part of the palm power of the other party, and then he used the ancient shield spell to block it. Even with his complete 2nd-grade physical body, he was still injured by the palm. My bloodline is indeed useless against an existence 5 levels higher than me. Lu Ming sighed secretly. Just now, the time for his bloodline to burst out hadn't ended yet. He could have devoured half of the attack, but it had failed. Ning Kong's cultivation was 7 levels higher than his. The difference was too great. Lu Ming was shocked. He did not know that Ning Kong and the others were even more shocked. Lu Ming had managed to block Ning Kong's palm. Although he was injured, he was not killed. This was unbelievable. Especially Ning Kong himself, who was even more shocked. One should know that he was a 9th-grade great martial master. Although he did not use his full strength, he was confident that even an 8th-grade great martial master would be injured by his palm. What cultivation level was Lu Ming at? 2nd-grade great martial master realm. How was this possible? An earth-rank martial skill. You actually cultivated an earth-rank martial skill. The old man from the Duanmu family who had been sitting on the wooden armchair shouted madly. What? An earth-rank martial skill? The others were even more shocked. Earth-rank martial arts skills were extremely rare, and the difficulty of practicing them was even more shocking. Weren't they usually only practiced by martial arts grandmasters? Lu Ming was only a 2nd-grade great martial master, and he had successfully cultivated it. We must kill him. At this moment Lu Yunxiong, Ning Kong, and the elder from the Duanmu family were all screaming in their hearts. They were afraid. Lu Ming's talent was too terrifying. If he was allowed to grow, only God knew what he would become. That would be their disaster. Only by killing them in the cradle could they avoid this disaster. Boom! The aura on Ning Kong's body grew. The old man from the Duanmu family also released his aura. He was at the peak of the 9th-grade great martial master realm, and he was even stronger than Ning Kong. Lu Ming, you're going to die today. Lu Yunxiong roared. Oh really? You're the one who will die today. Lu Ming's voice was very indifferent. Minger, hurry up and leave. You're not their match yet. As long as you leave, they won't dare to do anything to me. Li Ping shouted, extremely worried. The few of them were too powerful. Lu Ming was obviously not their match. Mother, don't worry. I'll kill whoever hurts you. Even if he's at the end of the world. Lu Ming smiled faintly. At this moment his hand glowed, and the blazing tongue spear disappeared. In its place was the demon subduing spear. Beast soul, I didn't expect to use it so soon, Lu Ming muttered. That's right, he planned to merge with the beast soul and fight with Ning Kong and the others. The demon subduing spear had 2.5 beast souls. 2 of them were at the peak of martial ancestor realm, and were known as half-step king warrior beast souls. The other half was a king-level beast soul. Lu Ming intended to fuse the beast soul of a peak martial arts grandmaster. However, there was a huge risk involved. With Lu Ming's current cultivation and physical strength, he was not confident that he could withstand the backlash. However, this was the only way. Beast soul, come out! The demon subduing spear shook and a beast's roar was heard. A giant black wolf flew into Lu Ming's body. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's body exploded with an extremely powerful aura. This aura was powerful, evil, brutal, and filled with bloodlust. Roar! Lu Ming could not help but roar. His voice did not sound like that of a human but like that of a wolf. Not good. He is fusing with a beast soul. It is a powerful beast soul. Stop him! The elder from the Duanmu family roared in shock and anger. Oh! Chapter 178. Chapter 178. Chapter 178 Killing Ning Kong. 549690339. Boom! Boom! The elder from the Duanmu family and Ning Kong made their moves. Two terrifying attacks were directed at Lu Ming. Roar! Lu Ming roared and leaped forward, sweeping his long spear horizontally. The air exploded, the space trembled, and water-like ripples appeared. With two loud bangs, the elder from the Duanmu family and Ning Kong trembled and were sent flying backward. Ning Kong was even worse off. He spat out a mouthful of blood. How can he be so strong? What level is that demonic beast? Ning Kong cried out in disbelief. With such a powerful beast soul, he won't be able to hold on for long. He'll explode from the power of the beast soul. Let's attack together and make him explode faster. The elder from the Duanmu family roared. At this moment, Lu Ming was indeed under great pressure. The violent energy of the beast soul was rampaging in his body. It was extremely violent. His muscles and bones were groaning as if they were about to burst at any moment. Even his complete Grade 2 body could not withstand it. At this moment, a blood-red light flashed from his spine, and a powerful devouring force came out. The devouring power had offset most of the violent tearing force. This greatly reduced the pressure on Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl and strode forward. His target was Lu Yunxiong. He had to kill Lu Yunxiong. Save me! Lu Yunxiong's face turned pale with fright. His legs trembled as he retreated. At that moment, the elder from the Duanmu family and Ning Kong arrived again. The other members of the Duanmu family also joined in the attack. Beams of sword chi, saber radiance, and palm force tore through the air and attacked Lu Ming. Sky-ripping wolf! Lu Ming roared, his long hair dancing in the wind and his aura demonic. As the spear stabbed out, wolf howls were heard. From the spear, huge black wallevers flew out. This was the combat skill of the beast soul of the giant black wolf. As it had been integrated with the beast soul, Lu Ming could use it for a short period of time. The black wallevers pounced at the Duanmu family's experts with their claws. Ah! Ah! Miserable shrieks rose and fell as more than a dozen Duanmu family men were torn apart. The elder of the Duanmu family and Ning Kong were forced back by 7 or 8 black wallevers. Kill! Kill, kill, kill! Lu Ming wielded his spear and charged at the remaining Duanmu family members like a tiger charging into a flock of sheep. Blood splattered everywhere, and the air was filled with blood. At this moment, Lu Ming had turned into a god of death, slaughtering to his heart's content. Every time a spear shadow flashed, a person would be killed. In just a few breaths, more than 20 people had been killed. Yao Ma, go! The remaining 10 Duanmu family members were scared out of their wits and ran for their lives. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he killed a few more people. Retreat! Lu Ming is no match for us now. Let's retreat first. The old man from the Duanmu family was so frightened that his face was trembling. He roared repeatedly and then let out a long howl. Gaga! Then a bird cry came from the sky. The 2 eagles flew down. You want to retreat? Stay here. Die! Lu Ming shouted and swept his long spear. Boom! Boom! The elder from the Duanmu family and Ning Kong joined forces and exchanged a blow with Lu Ming. However, the result was that the 2 of them were forced to retreat. Ning Kong's face turned pale and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Let's go! The old man from the Duanmu family used the force to retreat to Lu Yunxiong's side. He grabbed Lu Yunxiong and shot up 100 meters into the sky. Even though a 9th grade great martial master couldn't fly, he could still leap a few hundred meters high. At this time, the 2 eagles had also reached this distance. The elder from the Duanmu family and Lu Yunxiong landed on the back of a huge condor. The condor screeched and soared into the sky. Lu Yunxiong was Lu Yao's father and Duanmu Lin's future father-in-law. He had an extraordinary status, so of course he had to save him. Bang! At this moment, Ning Kong took a step forward and his body rose high into the air as well, flying towards the other large eagle. Stay here! Lu Ming bellowed. His body shot up into the sky like a cannonball and charged towards Ning Kong. Landslide! The long spear was like a mountain pressing down as it charged towards Ning Kong. Blood Butcher! Die! Ning Kong roared and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. He exerted all his strength and struck out a few times with a terrifying aura. His blood and palm energy condensed to form several blood-red palm prints that flew toward Lu Ming. Ning Kong was going all out. He had even used his secret skill. However, it still could not stop Lu Ming. The fusion of the beast's soul at the peak of the martial arts Grandmaster realm made Lu Ming's strength infinitely close to the martial arts Grandmaster realm. He stood at the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm. Ning Kong was no match for him at all. As the long spear struck down, the palm prints were destroyed one by one. Ning Kong coughed up blood and flew back. Using this self-mutilating method, he finally landed on the back of the large eagle. Lu Ming's body was falling. Haha, Lu Ming, you're dreaming if you think you can kill me. You've killed so many people from the Duanmu family. They won't let you off no matter what. Ning Kong laughed. But as he laughed, he spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned as white as a sheet. That's right, Lu Ming. Just you wait for the Duanmu family's wrath. Your Lu family will be burned to ashes in this fury. The elder from the Duanmu family and Lu Yunxiong were riding on a huge eagle, floating thousands of meters in the air. The old man from the Duanmu family said coldly. The Duanmu family had suffered heavy losses in this battle. Even he himself had been forced to flee. This was a great humiliation, and the anger in his heart burned. Lu Ming, just wait for your death. Lu Yunxiong roared. Who allowed you to leave? All of a sudden, a cold voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth as he was falling. His feet suddenly stomped in the air and his body actually stopped falling. Instead, he rushed up. At this moment, his strength had increased dramatically, and even the power of his soaring steps had increased by a large margin. Why would I? Ning Kong was shocked. He was only a few hundred meters above the ground. It was too late for him to fly up. He could only try his best to control the eagle and escape. The eagle spread its wings and flew forward rapidly. Die! Lu Ming bellowed. He held the spear in one hand and bent his body into a bow shape. Then the spear was thrown out. With his body as a bow and his spear as an arrow, the long spear whistled like a bolt of lightning. It was unbelievably fast. This was Lu Ming's all-out spear attack. In an instant it crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and stabbed Ning Kong. No! Ning Kong wailed, but it was too late for him to dodge due to his severe injuries. Poochie! The long spear pierced through Ning Kong's chest, bringing out a stream of blood. There was a big hole in Ning Kong's chest, and his eyes were filled with extreme unwillingness and fear. As for the eagle, it was shocked by the killing intent of the spear. It wailed repeatedly and actually stopped in the air. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a few steps back and crossed hundreds of meters in an instant, landing on the back of the large eagle. Lu Ming, Lu Ming! Ning Kong cried out in despair. Then, his life force dissipated and he stopped breathing. Let's go. Above, Lu Yunxiong and the elder from the Duanmu family were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They quickly urged the eagle to fly in the direction of the mystical sword sect. Lu Ming raised his head and took a look. He circulated the essential qi in his body and burst it out. The eagle under his feet wailed and obediently followed his orders, falling down. Ming, are you all right? Li Ping quickly walked over and asked with concern. Mother, I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Oh,